Join us today at 12:30. But first, it's the latest domino to fall in this family food fight over control of the grocery empire. Where are you in the drama of the workers, the loyalty to the CEO? You're gearing up for a boycott or waiting to see how it shakes out? And what creates such loyalty in a company's workers?
I'm Marjorie Egan, and even if you're not someone who's a market basket connoisseur, do you wish more corporate leaders would learn a lesson from their CEO, do the right thing by the customers and workers? Call or text. Then it's the Culture Show's Jared Bowen with reflections on the late rock icon Ozzy Osbourne. Plus, Jared will attempt to explain the Labubu phenomenon and other arts headlines. It's all ahead, 11 o'clock hour at BPR on GBH and NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Trump says the U.S. has reached trade agreements with 3 nations, Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The deals come ahead of Trump's deadline next week. If other nations don't strike independent trade agreements with the United States, Trump will impose significant new tariffs on them. Economists say the tariffs will prompt manufacturers to pass higher costs on to American consumers. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that's not fully happening.
Who pays the tariffs is a choice, and what we've seen thus far is that the manufacturers are eating a substantial portion of the tariffs and taking it into their profit margins.
He spoke to MSNBC. This week, automakers Stellantis and General Motors reported sharply lower profits in their latest quarters. Company officials cited the Trump tariffs. Russia and Ukraine are to meet for a third round of peace talks later today in Istanbul, Turkey. The meeting marks the first since President Trump imposed a deadline. He threatened economic penalties on Russia if it doesn't sign on to a peace deal by early September. From Moscow, NPR's Charles Maines reports.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky initiated the talks with an appeal to Moscow to accelerate negotiations towards a ceasefire, yet expectations remain stubbornly low. Ahead of the talks, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned not to expect miracles or breakthroughs and said Russia remained committed to achieving its military goals. The spokesman also made clear the Kremlin was not ready to engage Zelensky's calls for a face-to-face meeting with President Vladimir Putin aimed at securing a lasting peace. Instead, Russia is signaling it may agree to additional exchanges of prisoners and war dead, the lone accomplishment from previous negotiations and far less than the Trump administration is demanding. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee is effectively barring transgender women from competing in women's sports. NPR's Giles Snyder has more.
The USOPC confirmed an update to its athlete safety policy in a letter sent to the governing bodies that oversee swimming, track and field, and other sports, saying that as a federally chartered organization, it has an obligation to comply with federal expectations. The letter cites the executive order President Trump signed in February that threatens federal funding and says the revised policy emphasizes the importance of ensuring a fair and safe competition environment for women. It calls on all national governing bodies to follow suit. The NCAA took a similar step earlier this year. Supporters of excluding transgender women and girls say it's about athletic fairness. Critics argue Trump's order is discriminatory and affects only a small number of athletes. Giles Snyder, NPR News.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 175 points. The Nasdaq is up 17. You're listening to NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Business leaders are speaking out against a proposal on Beacon Hill that would ban mandatory employer-sponsored meetings known as captive audiences when it comes to religious and political matters. The Eagle Tribune reports that the business executives argue it would not only infringe on free speech rights, but it could also lead to costly court cases. The proposal, filed by Somerville State Rep Eric Viderhoven, would prohibit mandatory captive audience gatherings by public and private employers and allow workers to file lawsuits if they're fired or if they're disciplined for reporting or speaking out about any violations of those proposed rules. Barnstable's Water Supply Board met yesterday to discuss next steps for the Straight Water Treatment Facility, a project designed to expand the town's capacity to treat PFAS, dangerous forever chemicals increasingly found in drinking water. Sam Wilson, a chair of the Municipal Water Supply Board, gave an update.
So we already have the tanks in place that clean the activated carbon. So right now with those tanks, we are basically burning activated carbon, pulling iron and manganese out, which is expensive.
The new facility will replace Hyannisport and Somerville ponds, wells, and serve parts of Hyannis and surrounding neighborhoods. Town Council recently approved an additional $11.5 million in funding to complete the project. Construction is expected to begin in the coming months. 77 degrees in Boston. We are looking for a high of the low to mid-80s today. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting research to improve the lives of young people. Online at wtgrantfoundation.org. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
He's Jim Braude. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR on GBH and MEPM. Thank you. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We'll be back here again on Friday. Good morning, Jim.
Hey there, Marjorie. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
So the Market Basket family food fight is heating up after weeks of hushed tones and rumors about the state of conflict within the company as the board investigates suspended CEO Arthur T. Demoulas. We had two of the grocery chain's top executives on the show yesterday, Joe Schmidt and Paul Quigley. I'm sure you know, after our show, Joe Schmidt, who's worked for the company for 39 years, and another longtime executive, Tom Gordon, who has worked for the company for 50 years, were fired by the board for allegedly making defamatory and false statements about the company. Joe and Tom will join us here at the library at 12:30 today. For the uninitiated, CEO Arthur Demoulas, referred to as the Good Arthur by Shirley Leung in the Boston Globe, was placed on leave for the second time. You might remember he was suspended from his post back in 2014, leading to boycotts, a popular uprising from the workers and the customers in favor of the CEO. Ultimately, his return to his post. Here we are. It's 2025. Drama continues. The board is issuing statements. Three of his sisters oppose him. They're on the board. And fired executives standing up for their CEO. Here's Joe Schmidt, one of those two fired execs, on our show just hours before his termination yesterday, talking about the board's placing Arthur T. Demoulas on leave.
There's a lot of jealousy with them and thinking that they should have more notoriety in the company, but it also comes down to money. They want more money from the company. And apparently the $40 million after taxes that they're getting on an annual basis is not enough. So there's a dispute there between the sisters and Mr. Demoulas.
So our lines are open at 877-301-8097. A couple of questions. What are your reactions to the latest move in this saga? And if you're a customer and you support these executives and Demoulas, what do you plan to do about it? And secondly, why are there so few examples of this kind of loyalty from employees, including executives, to a company's CEO? And don't you wish there were more corporate leaders who followed the Demoulas lead, doing the right thing by customers and workers, engendering a kind of loyalty I have never seen by workers towards their CEO? The number is 877-301-8970 is the number. They were fired. Schmidt and Gordon were fired hours after Schmidt was on the show yesterday. Demoulas himself issued a statement, let me read part of it, saying that Tom Gordon and Joe Schmidt are men of strong character. They're two of the brightest and best grocery store operators in the business. Their extraordinary work has been key to building the company it's cultured. They are just collateral damage, Demoulas wrote in a statement, in this pre-planned coup, as he calls it.
So the first question, of course, Jim Braude, you have told us for months, if not years, about your 7 a.m. Saturday morning habit. What do you do?
We asked Quigley and Schmidt yesterday if people should boycott. And we asked Quigley first. There was a long pause. And they ultimately said everybody should do what they think is the right thing. That was pre-firing.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be on paid leave, which they were and Demoulas is. It's another thing to be fired. 89 years of service to this one company, and they're fired yesterday.
But you're at Market Basket. That was my point.
I know. I don't know what the answer to the question is. I think I'm going to stop going. But I'm not 100% sure. Actually, callers may affect what my decision on this. It's a hard one. I mean, especially when the executives themselves, again, pre-firing, weren't saying that we customers who support them and Demoulas should be doing. I don't know what would you do? I mean, you're not a regular because you don't have a store near you. I have one within a mile of my house. What would you do?
Well,
I boycotted it last time in 2014, and I was among those who would take my receipts from Star Market or Whole Foods and stick them on the window of the Market Basket in Somerville.
I mean, it would be easy for me to make a boycott on moral grounds, you should say.
Since you're not shopping there.
I don't go to Market Basket only because there isn't one near me. But listen, I think the thing about Market Basket, and we've talked about this so many times with our listeners, it's not only that the prices are really good and you can get things there that cost a lot more elsewhere. It's not only that you feel like there's a good mood there, that a lot of the workers are very happy to be there. And I said yesterday, and I say it again, when they had this big dispute back in 2014 when the other cousin was trying to take over the business, and Demoulas, the nice Arthur, as Shirley calls him.
Good Arthur.
Yeah, was on the edge. I went over there and talked to the employees, and it was really odd, how into this they were. I mean, they get profit sharing, they get good benefits, they get paid well, and they're not that interested in the shareholder return, maybe as a lot of other companies are. So it's lost its luster because of this effort by the three sisters to oust the person who seems to have created the success of the company.
I don't think it's fair to say they're not interested in the shareholder return. I think they're not obsessed with the shareholder return to the exclusion of everything else.
Yes, and that's what's happened in the United States of America in general. It's all about the shareholders, and the people that are working there kind of get screwed, as people know, who haven't gotten the raises that they should have gotten.
So there was also another moment that I thought was pretty significant, and pretty significant yesterday. We asked Joe Schmidt whether he was worried about being fired. This is hours before he was fired. Here's what Joe Schmidt had to say to us yesterday afternoon.
It would hurt, but I'll tell you something. What's more important is doing the right thing. And I said that 11 years ago, and I mean it today, because the right person running the company is Mr. Demoulas, because it not only protects the community, the Market Basket culture, it's something worth standing up for. If you can't stand up for something good in your life, then what's the purpose of life?
I want to grow up to be Joe Schmidt, let me tell you. 877-301-8970. By the way, as it was clear there, he's been fired twice now in support of Demoulas and the culture in 2014 when we first met him on the show. And now, 877-301-8970. As I said, if you're a Market Basket customer, we'd like to hear what you think about this. And if you support Demoulas and the people supporting him, what do you do? And whether you're in a Market Basket catchment area or not, why aren't more employers acting like this? By the way, this is a wildly successful firm. It isn't like treating the customers and the workers, engendering loyalty. Oh, the bottom line's not so good. They're a wildly profitable company. They now have 90 stores. They were rated the second best supermarket chain in the whole United States, even though they're fairly New England based. I mean, so it works. Why aren't more people doing it?
That's it. And this kind of this assumption that you can put anybody in charge. I guess the sisters want to put one of their sons in charge. Well, why do you fight success? I mean, anybody who's worked anywhere knows it matters who runs a company. It matters big time. And when you have someone who's done it with this kind of success and this kind of loyalty, it is unusual to try to shove them out the door, thinking it doesn't make any difference. But you know what? Also, Joe was talking about doing the right thing. I mean, we're surrounded by people doing the wrong thing constantly. I mean, we just had an entire Congress that says, "Hey, we're going to screw 11 million people out of their Medicaid. They're going to get no health care, and we're going to crack down on people who need help getting food because they're poor. We're going to do that to give tax breaks to people that are millionaires." I mean, it's the most immoral possible thing we possibly could have done, and these Congress people are all acting like it's fine. I mean, everybody's lying in Washington. I mean, it's unbelievable what goes on. So I think that's part of it. The idea that it is rare to do the right thing. I mentioned Aaron Furstein yesterday. He's the guy that ran Malden Mills. Yep. And people may remember there was a terrible fire at Malden Mills, and Aaron Furstein kept his employees on while the place couldn't operate.
Furstein, by the way.
Furstein, I'm sorry. Furstein, while it couldn't operate. And it was so unusual that Harvard Business School did a course on this guy, the Malden Mills. It was so unusual.
He was at the State of the Union for Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton pointed to him and recognized him.
So I think we have a long history of corporations not doing the right thing, and it's great to see somebody.
See the latest?
What's the latest? What's the latest?
When Trump heard that Demoulas had done the right thing, he ordered him deported. So let's go to Jill in Medford. You are first on BPR. welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi. I've been shopping at Market Basket since the last war, and that's when I found out about it. And I didn't know what to do recently because I didn't know if I was working against the workers or whatever, and the prices were still good. But the prices are now not as good as they were. And from your interview yesterday, it's pretty clear that that's not the same Market Basket that we have been counting on, that we thought we were shopping at. So I think we shouldn't shop there, and we should go protest there by wearing, like, any signs or hats or anything that says we're in favor of RDT. And just walk around the store and disrupt things.
Jill, how many times in your life have you ever been part of a protest in favor of a company's CEO?
Never.
Exactly.
Never.
I know. It's amazing. Jill, thanks for your call. We appreciate it. Here are a couple of texters, anonymous texter. I shopped Market Basket for the last time yesterday until all three, meaning the two executives in Demoulas, are back where they belong. Team Arthur, Lee and Mashpee. I just walked out of a Market Basket. Newburyport, I'm an old customer. Ed teacher, done by so long. I'm old enough to know boycott is a very good thing. 877-301-8970 is the number.
Let's go to Kathy in Wakefield. Thank you for calling.
Hello, Kathy.
Morning.
Hi.
So I went to Market Basket this morning just kind of out of habit, but I feel like I'm torn morally because I'd love to boycott, but their prices are better than everywhere else around me. So my checkbook wants me to go there. My bank account wants me to go there. But morally, I'd love to shop somewhere else just to make a point that what they're doing is terrible.
Yeah, I think you're an honest person, Kathy. It's tough. The prices are good, and it's tough to do. It's a real dilemma. But, I'm smiling. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube. I'm laughing when you said what you said. You went there almost by instinct. As I said, I live less than a mile away from the one in Somerville. And occasionally when I'm driving down Prospect Street in Cambridge and sort of daydreaming, rather than making a left to go home, I make a left and go to Somerville Avenue and go to Market Basket because I'm there so often. Kathy, thanks for the call. Let us know eventually what you do. Text us and let us know what your decision
If a few more texts. Getting rid of RDT and these managers for more shareholders' return is killing the golden goose. Robin Lowell says, I was still shopping at Market Basket till I heard the updates from RDT and the employers yesterday. After yesterday, I'll be shopping elsewhere. And this is another person who says, I am actually a supplier for Market Basket and was there for the, quote, stick your neck out, unquote, campaign for the good Arthur. I'm 100% ready to do it again. This makes me really angry and just smacks of greed.
Margaret in Waltham asked a question that I think we have an answer to. I can't help but wonder if the sisters, meaning the three sisters on the board who are now in the anti-Arthur T. brigade, were given an opportunity to participate in the running of a company way back when, or were they sidelined for the boy in the family to have all the power? Wish we could hear how they were treated back in the day. I shop at Market Basket, want to keep shopping there for the sake of the workers there who need to keep their jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong. The three sisters were with Arthur T. in 2014 against the cousin.
Right.
They were all on the same side.
They were.
And something has shifted,
well, I think it's
obviously, since.
Succession, supposedly. Isn't that it? Because I don't know how old RDT is, but he's
70, I think.
Okay, so he's probably getting ready at some point to retire, turn the company over. And the question
or
is,
run for president of the United States.
Who's going to get
70, right?
the company? And what I think Joe told us yesterday is that the son of one of the sisters is the person that they want to be running the company.
877-301-8970. We have two questions on the table. Two executives who support Arthur T. Demoulas were fired by Market Basket yesterday. Both of them will be with us at the library at 12:30 today. And we're asking you if you're a supporter of them and Demoulas' Market Basket leadership. What do you do? Is a boycott the right thing? And secondly, again, Market Basket or not, why do so few CEOs practice what Demoulas preaches and apparently does? Tim in New Hampshire, hey.
I have a great anecdote about Arthur T. Demoulas.
Yep.
My wife and I go shopping on Sunday mornings, and we go to Market Basket. And we've been going to the same Market Basket for like 20 years, and the same guy manages the store for 20 years. His name is Mark. We see him every Sunday. About 5 years ago, maybe 5 years after the kerfuffle at Market Basket when we all didn't go to Market Basket and we went to the horrible Shaw's down the road. We walked in on a Sunday morning, and Mark, the manager, I'm starting to choke up, was standing there beaming next to the door to the store. And the reason he was beaming is this little, short, elderly, middle-aged, dark-complected guy in a really expensive black suit was there standing next to him, and he was shaking everybody's hand. And it was Arthur T. Demoulas. And he may not talk to the press, but it was Arthur T. Demoulas, and he was there for hours on a Sunday morning. And believe me, those people, they're Orthodox Christians. They closed Demoulas on Easter. That's the only day they're closed. And the dude was there on a Sunday, and I always see the executives periodically on Sundays visiting my store, and Arthur T. Demoulas was there on a Sunday morning, shaking everybody's hand.
Tim, that is a fabulous story, and you told it beautifully.
I am so glad you called.
So I mentioned earlier that I might, I wasn't sure, but I might boycott Market Basket. Here's an anonymous texter who says, Jim's boycotting Amazon. Not. Sold his Nazi-supporting Tesla. Not. And now we're to believe he'll boycott Market Basket. Quite the example. I doubt it. Well, what he says is true.
Although I would argue, even though you are a devotee of Market Basket, it's probably easier to boycott them than it is to boycott, get rid of your car. I would
except, who I got a pass from? The woman who initiated the Tesla demonstrations, Joan Donovan, the disinformation genius out of BU, said if you bought it before, you got a pass.
Oh, you get a pass.
I got a pass from her. Of course, I didn't get a pass on Jeff Bezos.
Motto? Didn't we get a good motto?
I don't know if we're allowed to use it yet. Jamie's checking on that. 877-301-8970. Phil and Beverly, you are next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, I enjoy your show very much.
Well, thanks.
I'd like to say quickly two things.
Please.
The first one is, I believe the reason, at least my feeling is, why there's so much loyalty to the taking care of the employees is Arthur and these other people don't have to report to, at least, I don't know, do they have to report to the stockholders? Probably not. And so there's no pressure on them. And Arthur, I heard, I understand he's a fantastic people person, and he cares about people.
What do you say? Phil, before you continue, what do you mean they don't have to respond to the stockholders? I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Does Market Basket have stock?
Yeah, is Market Basket a public company? Isn't it a public?
Yeah, I don't know. We should
it's family owned. Okay,
yeah, it's family owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's not. So basically, I think it's. Everyone else of the other companies, it's all greed because they basically have to keep the stockholders happy.
Yeah, but Phil, let me just say, keeping the stockholders happy is in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't mean maximum profit at the expense of treating your workers and your executives decently. You can accomplish both things. And I would argue a good CEO does accomplish. When you have people, look yesterday Quigley was here, 44 years with a company. Tom Gordon fired, 50 years with a company. Joe Schmidt, 39 years with a company. Don't you think that's the kind of retention that stockholders want to see and their executives experience people who care deeply about the culture and the company? I would say that's pretty important. And if you make a profit at the same time, it's sort of a twofer. So I hear you. Whatever, maybe you're right, but I think you can do both things, even if you're a publicly traded kind of deal. Phil, thanks for the call. I should say you are listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM.
Lots of people are suggesting we go to Costco instead.
Well, they treat their workers quite well. But, it gives me some level of pause. Again, this is prior to the firing. When we asked Quigley and Schmidt yesterday, they both hesitated when we asked about the boycott and said, make up your own kind of mind. 877-301-8970 is the number, Marguerite.
Here's Sue in Fairhaven. What am I supposed to do? I live in the South Coast. The only other supermarket near me is Stop and Shop, where the prices are ridiculous and the variety is nil. I love my local Market Basket, but I want to support the right Arthur, so she's not sure what
well,
she should do.
Can I respond to that person and the person who said before, I'm concerned about the prices? These people have lost their jobs, which I think is probably a little bit more significant than saving $10 a week, unless the $10 is a life and death kind of thing for you, in which case it's then excusable. People, if they decide to boycott, have to make a sacrifice. But a lot of people think that's a really effective way to accomplish your goals. 877-301-8970.
Several people say they're already boycotting, and they've called Market Basket's corporate headquarters to tell them they're boycotting. Let's go to Bridget in Somerville. Hi,
hello, Bridget. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I just wanted to say the reason I go to Market Basket is the culture and that the employees seem happy and decently paid and with benefits. And we live in Union Square right by the Somerville one.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every day I take my baby there because she loves all the employees who are smiling at her. And we buy stuff while we're there because of it.
Wait, is that true, that latter part about your kid and the smiles, or is that true?
Oh, my gosh, yeah, she loves it's definitely true. That's why I'm calling.
That is great. That is a great addition to the discussion, Bridget. I hope I meet you someday at the Somerville store. Thanks so much for the call.
Here's Bob from Vermont. I don't care who runs the market. If I only bought goods from businesses that pass a purity test, I could never fill my oil tank or drive my car down the road, which is a good point, Bob from Vermont. Thank you very much for making it. Okay, we're talking about Market Basket. We're talking about the fact that 2 of his employees have been fired. Other people are in danger of being fired. There's a fight over the future of the company. What do you think? Is this, and it is unusual to see a guy like Joe Schmidt and other employees standing up for what they think is the right thing to do at their company. Our number is 877-301-8970. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. And we are broadcasting from the Boston Public Library.
In Mexico, oil theft is big business for organized crime syndicates.
It's the second largest revenue source for organized crime after drugs, according to the DEA.
If you buy a tank of gas in Mexico, there's a 1 in 3 chance that gas was handled by a cartel. The black market for oil and more global news next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Cornerstone at Canton, an assisted living community with services designed to help seniors age in place, offering respite and trial stay options to help during recovery or when exploring new living arrangements. More at cornerstonecanton.com. And M&M Skylights, servicing Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Their team is part of the Velux Skylight Specialist Network and is committed to helping improve the air quality in your home or business. Consultations and more information at mmskylights.com.
Welcome back to BPR. We're on GBH and NEPM. Marge Regan, Jim Browdy, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about Market Basket. Yesterday, the current board fired 2 longtime executives, 89 years between them. Both of those executives will join us in person at the library today at 12:25. We want to know what you're doing, assuming you support them, and the ousted, at least paid on leave, CEO Arthur T. DeMoulis. What do you plan to do about it, and whether you're a Market Basket shopper or not? Why do you think that there are not more executives who treat their this DeMoulis does? By the way, a relative who shall remain unnamed of one of our colleagues came up with this beautiful image. This, I don't know if you call it a logo, whatever. We're going to put it up for people at the library and people. Basket till the casket, bread milk, and unity. That is really beautiful, I should say. Basket till the casket. I really love that.
And look at the little shopping cart. It's little angry cart.
Artie 28. Barbara from Harvard writes, Arthur T. came to the Littleton store for a grand opening. I lined up to shake his hand. I told him he was my hero. He asked my name and then said to me, "You're my hero. I admire the man and I'm ready for a boycott."
877-301-8970 is the number to call or text. Diane from Bedford, thank you for calling.
Hi, Diane.
Hey, love your show.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I found out the news today on your show that they got fired.
Yeah.
And I was actually getting ready to go shopping to Market Basket. So I am not going there today. I will boycott. And I hadn't heard on the last boycott, which I participated in, that people were putting their receipts from other stores on the and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jim, I don't understand your hesitancy of not being able to decide whether or not you're going to boycott.
Well, I'm not sure. I just haven't thought a lot about it, and I guess my only hesitancy, I'm going to get the input of these two fired execs, was yesterday when I asked them about a boycott. One of the now fired people and Paul Quigley, they weren't urging a boycott, and I want to probe a little deeper to see if they think there's a reason not to. But having said that, I admire you. You're a person of principle. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I felt that their answer was measured.
It was measured.
That they, that would be, you were asking their opinion, and I'm sure they would have liked to have seen to answer differently, but I felt it was a measured answer.
I got it, and Diane, I admire what you're doing. I really do, and I'll let you know a little later what I'm doing if you care, and we'll get a sense if the fired executives have a different set of advice today. But Diane, thank you for your call. We much appreciated.
We have a texter who makes the point, and this person is boycotting as well, that the Market Basket this person goes to has so many long-term employees. The texter says so many disabled employees, so many English language learning employees. Their prices and customer service can't be beat. It's nice to do a business with a company that values their human assets. I'm getting a lot of texts about Malden Mills too. I'm not sure it was a union that put it out of business. I think they were other Polytech that made them all the money. The market changed, and they just couldn't afford to do it anymore.
You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Let's go to Ron in Seabrook. Hey, Ron.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Hey, I was born in Lowell. The Mullis has been part of my life for my whole life. Almost 70. The concern I have, obviously we know that the previous boycott was successful and things ended up the way we want it to be, but the company seems willing to weaponize layoffs and firings. And there are so many people that have been at the Mullis for their entire working careers that being laid off is just going to be devastating for them. Those executives that you spoke to, if they could voice an opinion on whether a boycott would be too harmful to those folks or whether they think there's another way to get this done.
Ron, why do you think it'd be any more harmful in 2025 than it was in 2014 when, as you say, in the end, it was totally successful? Why do you think now is a worse time for the company?
Well, the last time there wasn't another avenue explored. I guess it went immediately to boycott, and it was successful, but if there's a less harmful way to get it done for the current employees, I'd like to hear.
Got it. Well, we'll ask.
Care to hear.
Make sure you listen. When they're here at 12:25, we'll ask them what they think not only about a boycott and if there's a less harmful for, as you call it, for employees thing. But the employees supported the boycott last time, so or at least the vast majority did. So we shall see. Ron, thank you much for your call. We
Here's
appreciate it.
Here's a texter who says, Jim, please stop with the years of service stuff. I have 43 years with the post office, and they could care less. We're just a number, and we'll all be replaced.
Well, I know that guy's person is half in jest, but if you hear what the 39 and 44 and 50 years of service people say about why they stayed, it's not like I stayed because it's a job. And that, I mean, it really was quite moving. It was moving yesterday. It was moving in 2014. It's really incredible stuff.
There's a lot of very cynical people. Here's another one who says, Jim, haven't you noticed that CEOs do not care about loyalty or service? It's the bottom line they care about. And, our staff put up a thing a little while ago about the AFL-CIO just releasing these executive pay watch numbers from 2024. CEO pay at S&P 500 companies increased 7% from the previous year to an average of $18.9 million in total compensation, while the average CEO to worker pay ratio was 285 to 1. It used
the reason I didn't read that, by the way, is I have no idea what Arthur T. DeMoulis makes.
I don't either. But I think in general across the country,
yeah, it's horrible.
It used to be more like 30 to 1.
It was, yeah.
Remember? And now it's 285 to 1. And obviously, that's a big dramatic change. Move on.
But remember, the two fired executives, Joe Schmidt and Tom Gordon, 89 years of service between them, will join us today at the library at 12:25.
Yep. Yes, we are out of time, as I said. But coming after this quick break, we're going to be joined by the Culture Show's Jared Bowen. We're going to talk about Ozzy Osbourne, who just passed away at 76 years old. The La Boo Boo, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
I think so,
Boo Boo. Okay. That craze for those cute little things you see on everybody's keychain, or a lot of people's keychains. And whether we want to be serenaded at the Baggert claim at Logan Airport. That's next. You're listening to Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy at BPR on GBH and NEPM, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, just when you thought it was safe to go back in The Culture Show, Shark Week continues. We're taking a tour through Martha's Vineyard Museum's exhibition Jaws at 50, A Deeper Dive. Plus, we continue our Countdown to 2026 series with a look at the artists who championed the American Revolution. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Morningside Music Bridge, returning to Boston. The summer program shines a spotlight on young classical musicians from around the world, with concerts now through August 1st at New England Conservatory. mmb.international. And Newport Mansions, presenting Richard Morris Hunt in a new light, an illuminating exhibition examining the architect's pursuit of national pride in art and architecture and his vision for a gilded American civilization. Tickets at newportmansions.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Again at roughly 12:25 today. The two fired executives from Market Basket will join us at the library. We're joined now at the library by Jared Bowen, GBH News Executive Arts Editor, host of The Culture Show, which airs daily here on 89.7 at 2. And for our friends in Western Mass, they can get their dose of Jared and Company Saturdays at 7 p.m. on 88.5 NEPM. And he, of course, is here today to explain to us how bras were invented in Worcester. Jared, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I missed that segment. What's the answer?
So they weren't invented in Worcester.
What were
but they were. Worcester became this huge center of industry of all manner. It was the birthplace of birth control, the birthplace of corsets were manufactured there. But the manufacturing of bras in Worcester, not invented there, but the manufacturing ultimately led to the creation of the spacesuit, the pressurized spacesuit.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Bras led to the creation of the pressurized spacesuit?
You have to go back and listen to the show from yesterday. It's really fascinating. It's a fascinating story.
Wow.
Not to mention Polar Seltzer. And
I don't know how they get from 1 to 2 there. I'm not sure.
It's the material and the structure and opportunity.
We get to 2 because it's a bra, Marjorie. That's how you get to 2. That is.
Oh, very funny, Jim.
Well, thanks for the report. I missed that part of the show. I will listen to it tonight. Thank you. Hello, Jared.
Okay, we're going to play a little sound from Ozzy Osbourne. People may know he was a star in Black Sabbath. He was also a star with his wife Sharon and the family of the reality TV show The Osbournes. He just passed away at 76. Here's a clip from his 1980 hit Crazy Train that was released after he left Black Sabbath.
I mean,
remember when that was so outrageous? That music was so unreachable, and now it sounds like a pop ballad.
Yeah. Well, I was you. I was never a big heavy metal person, but I got a kick out of him on his reality TV show, which I watched for a while, because he seemed like an awful good dad to me.
This was the thing about Ozzy Osbourne. It's the thing of so many performers who create this persona for the stage, and then people are so surprised to learn what they are off stage. Usually we don't see that when you see this outlandish personality, but he put it out there. And so when he launched this series on MTV, and I remember, I think I watched every single episode, because this was the first chance.
It's huge.
Yeah, it was huge. It was the first chance we had to see a major celebrity on a regular basis in their home and see the regular dynamics. And he, in some ways, was the most benign character, as he's just trying to, in a very confused way, work his way through the family dynamics and all the pets and all the kids. Being upset with his daughter for getting a tattoo when, hello, he's Ozzy Osbourne.
That's right.
Who is biting the heads off of bats, and his daughter's not supposed to be getting a tattoo. But look how people gravitated toward that, and look what it launched. Then we launched into Jessica Simpson and her life, and of course the Kardashians. But this all came from Ozzy Osbourne, to say nothing of this major career that he had.
Yeah.
I don't want to rain on his parade, but did you read Mark Shanahan's piece, you guys, in the Globe?
He just said he didn't like him?
No. He says he had a certain admiration for Adolf Hitler. When asked during a 1982 episode of the cable TV show Night Flight about the inspiration for his stage performance, Osbourne cited the Nazi leader. He was a freak, he was a lunatic, but he had something about him, it was bad what he did. It was terrible what he did. He killed all those people and whatever. But it was like he had something about him. I mean, and as Mark said, I'm curious now how many obituaries will mention that part of his background. It's a tad troubling. Would you not agree?
Well, add to that, the New York Times obituary had the fact that he engaged in more animal slaughter than just the biting off the head. He took a shotgun or something to a whole series of hens or something at his home. There was he had attempted murder charges against Sharon Osbourne at one point. She thought that he was contrite enough that she dropped the charges. So there is definitely a violent streak that was there with him. Definitely a harm to animals. I wasn't as familiar with that part, so that does need to be entered into the record.
Well, I would say this is enough of a tribute then, do you think?
He was not a good dad then? I was totally fooled.
Maybe he was fine then.
I mean, you're also understanding that this is a man who abused drugs and alcohol for years and years and years.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Exactly.
Forget about Ozzy.
Now, I read this piece about how they have live music at the baggage, whatever those, what do they call the baggage claim at the carousels at Logan. Yep. And I thought it was actually brilliant on the part of Rich Davey, the recently returned head of Massport, until Christopher Muther wrote a piece earlier. It eviscerated the whole. It makes a horrible experience even worse. I mean, he said it's great that they're young musicians who are doing good things. Have you experienced this yet? You're a big time traveler.
I was just through the airport the other day, and
they
have the whole setup, and they have the musician there, and. Yeah, I think it's very well intentioned.
Oh, well, that is a hell of a lot of praise.
Well, it depends on what stage of travel you're in.
Yeah.
If you're getting, as I did, you're getting off a flight that was canceled and delayed, and you're bounced onto other flights, and you just want your bag, and the last thing you want is to be running into a crowd that's surrounding a musician at the airport. However, music is so important in stressful situations. Renee Fleming has talked about this in how she's had studies of her brain for music, and we know that music, people's respiration levels match the rhythm of the music. We know that it can decrease your blood pressure. So there is great value in this.
Imagine it was Ozzy Osbourne
That's
playing
a good
from
point.
Black
Crazy
Sabbath.
train, yeah.
Well, there's a pot for every lid. I mean, everybody has some sort of musical interest.
It wouldn't be soothing, I don't think, though, at the carousel.
Well, maybe not. Or
I
maybe
never
it
heard the
meets
expression pot for every lid. That's great.
Or lid for every pot, I think.
Well, whatever it is. Backward, whichever way.
There's a lid for every pot.
You can never
it's
find
usually about relationships.
I figured
you can't find the lids is the problem.
Yeah.
They get buried, and then you go, and you're boiling over, and you have all these problems.
Speaking of lids, you remember that Marjorie and I used to criticize the Cambridge Side Galleria, and we were invited, our old radio station, we used to say you have to be armed to go to the Galleria. That was the old days, which you did. And a guy who owned the Galleria called our boss and said, we're going to give him a guided tour because they're hurting our business, and we felt bad. And they gave us a nice tour, even though they gave us no swag, which was upsetting.
No swag.
And they said, you're really exaggerating. This is a totally true story. So we finished the hour tour, and we're trying to be nice. And I say, I'm going to stay a few minutes. I want to buy a baseball cap at Lids. I go to Lids. The security guard slams me up against the wall and frisks me because I'm carrying a bag from True story. So I'm sure it's wonderful today. Gallery is fabulous today. So that was many years ago, 20 years ago.
Okay, I haven't been there in years.
The only other thing I want to say about this is I was thinking there were so many students who are given this opportunity. By the way, this
musicians
is funded by,
you're talking about.
Yeah, Mass Cultural Council is funding this.
That's great.
They're giving students an opportunity, emerging musicians. And I was thinking there are so many people who do come through Logan of really great import, whether they're company owners or people from Hollywood.
That's true.
So I think it is a good opportunity for exposure, too. I mean, look, the host of the Culture Show was listening to a musician walking through the other day.
Yeah, and you want it
You're
to
referring to yourself in the third person just there?
Just for that moment.
Oh, my God.
I think it wants to. You want it to be.
If I have to listen to your detour down memory lane about buying a baseball hat.
Baseball hat.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't get to buy a baseball hat.
Acoustic. We want it to be soothing music. We don't want it to be heavy metal music.
Probably.
You have to be kind of, because you're stressed at the baggage.
Chris Bermuther, by the way, unless he cancels because of what we said, will be with us on Monday to defend his position on the Logan performers.
So let's move on to something that apparently is taking over the world, this Labubu effect.
Yeah.
People are spending, tell us what they are and why you spend $50 to get one and spend all your time trying to accumulate 15 of these things.
This is one of my favorite stories. We actually talked about this on the Culture Show a few weeks ago, and now it has exploded even more because Labubu, this is one of two favorite stories of the week. I can't wait to talk to about the next one, what happened at the Coldplay concert. That'll be super fun. But Labubu, they're these little creatures that have been turned into basically keychains. That's where this all started.
Yeah.
And it's the work of an artist who created this whole series called The Monsters of these characters that are kind of ugly, actually, but they're furry, we
call them.
Furry, that's the word I'm trying to go for. And they have these cute big wide eyes and the ears. But then people like Dua Lipa, Rihanna, David Beckham started toting them around. In the women's cases, it was on their purses. People were putting them on their Birkin bags, which I think is really fascinating. These bags that are thousands and thousands of dollars. And then you'd put this little fluffy keychain.
$10,000. Jane Birkin bag.
$10,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead.
What's so great about them?
Just
Jane Birkin.
Everybody, it's not unlike the Labubu where it just takes off and suddenly everybody has to have one. So that's exactly what has happened here. So now everybody wants one. There's this whole thing about the box that you can buy and the blind box, and you don't know what's going to be in it. So you're trying to get the surprise Labubu, and because of this, they're now selling for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
It's like the Beanie Baby craze, like 10,
Cabbage Patch
15
Kids,
Cabbage Patch,
Beanie Babies, it's the whole thing. But this is driven even more feverish because of social media. So many of these things like this have started off with TikTok and videos and postings, and that's how people learn about this and become ravenous for them.
We have pictures of them.
There you go. Looks like Jared to me.
Yeah.
No. Oh, there it is. There's a Labubu.
I think they're kind of cute.
I think they're not at all.
You think they're not at all?
I mean, who cares?
I think they're pretty adorable.
So does let me refer to it properly. Does the host of the Culture Show have a Labubu?
All right, enough.
Does he have a Labubu?
No, I can't get one.
Okay.
I don't have a Lafufu either.
Lafufu is a fake Labubu?
They're the knockoffs that people are getting now. I am very well versed in the world of Lafufu and Labubu.
Now, I'm not going to say who this is, but two wildly popular radio show hosts in Boston were at a staff meeting yesterday, and neither of them had ever heard of Labubu
or Jane Birkin bags either.
Until one of their coworkers mentioned. What would you think of those two people being behind the times on the Culture Beat?
Well, first of all, I have to say you didn't listen to the Culture Show.
That's right.
Apparently not.
We didn't listen to the Culture Show that day. We did not.
You're not on TikTok
It's Jim's
enough.
fault. We just stayed for a meeting. It was Jim's fault.
It was my fault, exactly.
Oh, you remember the exact day, and you had a meeting that day?
I'm not that interested in Labubu either.
Tracks.
We were going to skip the what do you call it, Coldplay Gate with you because we're doing it at the end of the show in a different capacity around shame in this country and lack of shame in high places, obviously. But what was your quick reaction to this deal here?
Well, I find it fascinating because there are so many threads to this story. One was this leap to how do we not have privacy if this couple can be destroyed on social media because they went to a very public concert with thousands and thousands of people.
With a Jumbotron and cameras.
Where, you're lucky enough to have Chris Martin of Coldplay call you out. And not only is there the Jumbotron, but everybody else has a camera. And then there was the shaming about privacy. Well, that's ridiculous. ridiculous. You surrender your right to privacy when you enter into a public space. There was actually a gentleman who just came up and asked me if he could photo and video record you guys. Well, of course.
No, can't.
I think he's still here. Of course you can do that in a public space.
I think that's all over, Jim.
Years ago, Caroline Kennedy wrote a fantastic book about privacy. I remember reading it as a journalism student, and that's how I learned so much about what we can do as journalists. Somebody can photograph you from the street into your house. As long as your shades are open, they have every right to take that picture and then put that anywhere.
Maybe remember how her mother, Jacqueline Kennedy, used to get chased down the street by that. What was that guy's name? Ron Galuglia or something like that.
Galella.
The photographer. She sued him finally, but he used to just stand outside her apartment. Every time she'd leave, he'd be like 10 feet behind her taking multiple pictures.
But that's what made it so interesting that Caroline Kennedy, of all people, would write this book, and it was basically in defense of what your rights are and when you have rights to privacy. So that's number one, and I think that a lot of people have moved beyond that and recognizing that this has happened. But the other is this accountability that has happened now with the CEO of Astronomer stepping down or being forced to step down. And there was a piece, I think, in the New York Times today that was arguing that people are just craving accountability. You do something wrong, you own it, and you step back at a time where we see so many people trying to defend themselves.
Yeah, but can I just say, we're going to talk about accountability and shame again at the end of the show with listeners. This notion that we're celebrating that shame is making a comeback. Two private individuals who, again, they made their own bed, so to literally, probably, and figuratively, and we're congratulating ourselves while the guy who's the most powerful person in the world and all of his minions has no accountability and no shame. I think we got to work on the big one before we worry about the former CEO and HR person at Astronomer.
But isn't that why people, because there's so little accountability in place us, and so people find in this one couple who's, they've got spouses and kids and everything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so how stupid are you? But this is the thing. We now understand cameras are everywhere. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but after the Luigi Mangione arrest, which allowed us to understand that there are cameras everywhere.
There's a play called Luigi in San Francisco.
Yes,
you know about that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And the fact that they were able to track just about everywhere he was so eye-opening to me that subsequently I've not been able to watch a television show or read a suspense novel without thinking, I don't know how plausible this is, because it would just be easier to go to the tape, essentially, to track an assailant.
How about the Tsarnaevs? I mean, think about that too, right on this street, on Boylston Street, and that kind of...
Well, you're opposed to all those cameras.
Well,
Jim.
by the way, Marjorie, it's funny you say that. Many, many years ago,
you've lost.
I said that the proliferation of cameras is going to ruin all of our lives. You, of course, disagreed. And you weren't sure why, but you did disagree. Except
because sometimes they catch criminals. Lots of
I know, and sometimes I'm not talking about the Coldplay thing, but sometimes they invade privacy, like when you're in your house or whatever it is.
You got to keep the shades drawn.
Okay, fine.
Stay in with the shades drawn. That was one of my favorite things about having a dog. I used to like to look in my neighbors' houses. I wasn't looking for them to be doing anything untoward.
You were.
I would like to see how they decorated their houses. So you get the dog there, and the dog is sniffing around, so it gives you an excuse to stand there and look in the windows. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean you want to exploit the situation, right?
No. Okay, good. So Boston, we got to move it because we want to get to no stuff here. Boston Arts Academy. What's going on there?
So this is the latest iteration of Mfiniso Udofia's UFOT family cycle, which we've been talking about. It's
a 9-part deal we were talking about?
It's a 9-part theatrical series that's been happening in Boston that she is giving us basically the 100-year span of a family matriarch. An immigrant from Nigeria who settles in America and is building this life. So this is installment number 5, and this introduces us to her grandson. So it's called Kufre and Quay. It's playing at the Boston Arts Academy main stage through July 26th. By the way, this is in the Boston Arts Academy's new building. It's the first time I'd been to the theater in the new building. It's gorgeous and fabulous, and I love that a major professional production is happening here along with Boston Arts Academy students. So we have met this family in different iterations of their family dynamics, different periods. But this brings us to about 10 years ago when Kufre is a recent arrival from Nigeria, where he has been raised. And he's plunked down in New York in this student center, and he meets this girl, and they establish a friendship, but then there's a divide because the community kind of intercedes here, and there's a difference between as he's described, an off-the-boat African and being a black person in America. So there's this, within cultures that one from the outside thinking might be similar, there's this divide, and it becomes sort of explosive, and these kids have to work through this, and it becomes this really fascinating dialogue about what it means to be an immigrant in this country, trying to assimilate with people that you might think would be more embracing of you. And consequently, we're led to this great monologue from Abasiama, the matriarch I referred to, about her experiences coming to this country and how ultimately, after decades, she finds herself to be black, and by that she means black in America and perhaps less Nigerian. It's a very fascinating discussion.
You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM, and it's there till the 26th, you said, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so we have, before the September 9th preliminary for the Boston mayor's race, we have Mayor Wu booked for the last week of August. We're trying to get Josh Kraft. We haven't succeeded yet. You're doing this mayoral forum on the arts, which I think is spectacular.
Yeah.
Next week? When is this thing?
This is next Wednesday night. It happens at the Strand Theater. You just need to register for the event. This is a great time to register for the event because you can also submit questions. But more importantly, this is a chance for the entire arts community, anybody who's interested in the arts in Boston, any sector of the arts, to have a say and ask questions by way of me. I'll be moderating this, of the candidates, the mayoral candidates, about what their plans for the arts are going forward, what their platforms are, what their interests in the arts are. So this will be a forum with Mayor Michelle Wu, Josh Kraft, Domingos, and so we will hear directly from them about what their investment is in the arts and culture sector. And this is very, very significant because we know that the arts are such an impactful economic engine here in the city. We know they nourish our souls. They do all the things they're supposed to. We also know this is an incredibly difficult time. So in what regard is the city able to step forward and help when funding is evaporating at every corner?
So once again, if people, real people, want to submit questions through you to any of the candidates who are going to be there, what do they do again?
Just Google Create the Vote. It will take you to a website which has all the details about next Wednesday's event. You can register there and submit your questions. I'm going to be meeting with a team. I will look at all the questions personally and integrate them into my conversations with the candidaents.
People can go to this thing, I assume,
absolutely.
if they register.
People should go and show their support.
Because the Strand holds several hundred people.
Hundreds and hundreds of people.
So it's pretty good size.
So we were on vacation when the most recent poll came out. 30-point, I think it was Suffolk, I'm not sure. 30-point lead by Wu over Kraft. Did that surprise either of you, particularly in light of how much money Kraft has been, well, not Kraft in all fairness, but his PAC has been spending in particular, trashing Wu?
As Adrian Walker said in the Globe, I thought it would be at least 20 points. 30 points is really not good. But it didn't seem to me he had a reason, except maybe bike lanes.
Does he stay in the race till the preliminary?
I don't know. I think he should. I don't think this is his time. I don't think it's his
What do you think of that? Margin was huge.
My sense of this is I work in the city. I live in the city. I don't hear much conversation about the mayoral debate. And I think...
The race at all. You're not talking about
the
Kraft.
Race at all, or even a debate about the candidates. And I think that we often see this, and people don't start to really pay attention until after Labor Day. It's a frequent conversation. But I don't know how you... People have done that. They've come back from major behind. But I just don't see the conversation happening in the city that we might have in other election cycles.
By the way, I should say, when I just said I'm wondering if Kraft will drop out, I've read nothing, heard nothing about it.
Oh, he may not.
I'm just speculating.
And it may get better.
No,
I don't know.
There's no indication he is dropping out, so I don't want to leave that impression. It was just my thought. Jared Bowen, you remind me of Bob Dole, who used to say,
"Hey,
Bob Dole thinks." Hey. Oh, wait a second. I am Bob Dole.
Okay, just ignore him.
Did you see the little smirk he just gave?
I raised my eyebrows like this to Jared.
Okay, we have been speaking with Jared Bowen, GBH News Executive Arts Editor and host
That's great.
of the Culture Show. Jared, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The show is going to continue here in Boston with Harvard National Security expert Juliette Kayyem with the latest out of Gaza, and the Justice Department reaching out to Ghislaine Maxwell with new questions about Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to talk about that. Plus, as Jim said before, the two Just fired executives from Market Basket are going to join us to tell us what happened. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Thanks to people on NEPM for tuning in. We are live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You're listening to Boston Public Radio with Jim Browder and Marjorie Egan. Just ahead, more smart conversation about what's going on in our community. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority, helping families overcome the college planning stress. Committed to providing trusted guidance with calculators, step-by-step videos, and more. Details at mefa.org. What are the challenges facing our most vital resource? A journey down the Colorado River reveals the ripple effects of humanity's quest to conquer water. Catch a new episode of Human Footprint tonight at 9 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browder, head of Hour 2 of BPR Live from the Boston Public Library. We talk with Harvard national security expert Juliette Kayyem about Israel's expansion of attacks in Gaza and her thoughts on what testimony from Jeffrey Epstein's imprisoned pedophile facilitator, Ghislaine Maxwell, could mean for Donald Trump.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Yesterday we spoke with Joe Schmidt and Paul Quigley, two Market Basket executives placed on leave by the board. Hours after speaking with us, Schmidt plus another longtime executive, Tom Gordon, were fired by that board. Tom and Joe will join us at the library with the latest. Then it's another edition of our series, How Do You Two Know Each Other? We'll talk with two husbands, one a big-time player in Boston Public Schools, the other former editor-in-chief of In Style, making waves in the Seaport. All that's next in the second hour of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's expected to present his roadmap for AI in the U.S. The plan's expected to roll back Biden-era regulations that artificial intelligence companies say hinder innovation. Also, the White House is directing the federal government to use only AI platforms that adhere to Trump's policies against diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. U.S. stocks move higher this morning on news of a new trade deal with Japan. NPR's Maria Aspen reports investors may be cheering, but many big companies are concerned.
President Trump, posting on social media, wrote the United States will impose taxes of 15% on Japanese imports. While those new tariffs will increase costs, they're lower than the 25% tariffs Trump had previously threatened on Japanese goods. Trump also said Japan will invest $550 billion in the United States. Global investors cheered the news of the trade deal. In the U.S., investors have been largely shrugging off the ongoing tariffs drama, even as General Motors and other big companies warn about the impacts on their operations. The S&P 500 index, which tracks the largest U.S. companies, has repeatedly hit record highs. Maria Aspen, NPR News, New York.
More than 100 religious, humanitarian, and charitable organizations are calling for Israel to open up the borders to Gaza. They want desperately needed food and medical aid to be delivered immediately. Here's NPR's Emily Fang.
Muslim, Jewish, and Christian religious organizations are among those who have signed an open letter calling for a ceasefire to Israel's war in Gaza and for all border crossings to Gaza to open. The letter says aid workers in Gaza are debilitated by hunger. It also criticized an Israeli and U.S.-backed food distribution program that has largely replaced a United Nations system as flawed and a, quote, smokescreen for inaction. The letter comes amid growing global pressure on Israel. This week, the human rights organization Amnesty International described what it called, quote, starvation as a method of warfare in Gaza. And the United Nations condemned the deaths of 81 Palestinians trying to access food on Sunday from UN trucks, calling their killings a, quote, an atrocious and inhumane act. Emily Fang, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
A sentencing hearing was scheduled today for the man convicted of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. From Northwest Public Broadcasting, here's Lauren Patterson.
Kohberger pleaded guilty to the murders of students Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin at a change of plea hearing earlier this month. He admitted to the stabbing deaths in exchange for prosecutors dropping the death penalty. Family members of the victims are sharing statements on how the crime has affected them. Kohberger also has a chance to speak at the hearing. Despite pleading guilty to the killings, Kohberger has not shared the motive for the crime.
That's Lauren Patterson. It's NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Hammerhead sharks are appearing more often in waters off Cape Cod as warming seas expand their northern range. John Chisholm, an adjunct scientist with the New England Aquarium who specializes in shark tracking and public sightings, says this uptick is expected.
The biggest concern I've been hearing from people when they see them is, are they dangerous? They look intimidating because of that big wide head that gives them the name hammerhead. But unless you're a fish or a squid or a smaller shark, they're not really a threat.
Chisholm and his team are now tagging hammerheads to better understand when they visit Cape Cod waters and what habitats they prefer. Well, the New England Patriots have released a statement after the death of Ozzy Osbourne. It reads as such, quote, "The New England Patriots are saddened to learn of the passing of music legend Ozzy Osbourne, who provided the iconic intro for Patriots games for over 20 years. Condolences to his family and all who mourn his loss," unquote. Osbourne performed at Gillette Stadium in 2005 at the Patriots' home opener, and it was during the Bill Belichick era that the team ran onto the field to crazy. He will be missed. Ozzy Osbourne was 76 years old. Phillies go for the sweep of the Red Sox tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Then it's back to friendly Fenway for the weekend for the Sox, who host the Dodgers. 79 degrees. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Marjorie Egan, thank you very much. We're broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, and we are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Hello again, Jim.
Hey, Marjorie, and as we've said, at 12:25 today, the 2 fired executives from Market Basket will join us here at the library. They're actually here now. Tom Gordon, 50 years of service to the company. Joe Schmidt, 39 years of service to the company. Again, they'll be with us at 12:25. Joined now at the desk by national security expert Juliette Kayyem. Juliette's former Assistant Secretary for Homeland Security under President Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and CNN's senior national security analyst. Hello, Juliette. How are you?
Hello. Hi,
nice
everyone.
To see you.
I'm sandwiched in between Ozzy Osbourne and Market Basket. I think I made it.
That's right.
Thank you both.
Finally made it.
So Juliette, there was some hope. Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, was in the White House just a few days ago, and there was some talk that maybe we'd get the hostages back and things might improve. And things have become even more dire and upsetting in Gaza. So bring us up to date.
Yeah. So it's starting to get more attention in the United States, and we get fixated on words about like whether this is a genocide. So I don't want to get fixated on that. I just want to get fixated on the facts, which is Palestinians are now being starved to death by the Israelis. That's just it. It's just I don't need to qualify it in any way. Netanyahu
by the Israeli government.
By the Israeli government, yeah, and the IDF. I mean, okay. as policy, this began, of course, because Hamas attacked Israel. Israel started the campaign against Hamas in Gaza as a targeted, or as they said, a targeted response to undermine their operational capacity. That mission is essentially done. There's been no Hamas attacks from what most people can account for 6 months. But as part of that process, Israel or Netanyahu has shifted course and taken on the humanitarian effort that existed to support the Palestinians or to keep the Palestinians alive. They've bombed 80% of Palestinians' Gaza's infrastructure. So you have 80% of almost of all buildings now gone. The second tier of that attack on the Palestinians, not on Hamas, but on the Palestinians, has been this starvation campaign. There's no excuse for it. There was a vibrant aid capacity going into Gaza that was stopped by the Israeli government that then superimposed their own apparatus to feed the Palestinians who are faced now with the choice of trying to get food or, as we've seen, mass casualty events. There's been 60 to 80 to 100 mass casualty events. This is Israel's policy. People will get focus on whether it's the term genocide, and I will let scholars decide what it is.
Can I interrupt you to say one of those scholars, the preeminent scholar, Omer Bartov, who wrote a piece in the New York Times, will be with us tomorrow at 12:30. I think it does matter, but let's leave that until tomorrow.
I think it matters in the sense, like, if we call it that, a lot of things ensue from that, including potential war crimes, prosecutions against people who enabled this. But I think if you just look at the facts on the ground, I mean, the European defense ministers are now no longer being quiet. Israeli scholars and genocide scholars are no longer being quiet. Israel government's policy in Gaza is starvation. Just is.
Well, I don't understand.
We are culpable in it. We are supporting it. We helped manage it, and we are withdrawing from any moral. Any ability to have moral strength as we continue to support this, and that's across the board. I don't think the Democratic Party has been forceful enough on this.
No, I think a lot of people think that there has not been enough forceful complaining about this. But you know what I wonder? It seems so inexplicable to me, with these latest attacks on people lining up to get food.
85 people killed waiting for food.
The Israeli government talks about how they fired off warning shots to these people, and I think to myself, why can't they just do crowd control? If you're armed people, military people. Why?
Well, I wrote about this a month ago. I mean, when I saw what they were structuring, the Atlantic piece that I wrote was titled, "This is Doomed to Fail." That was after maybe 2 or 3 deaths. The reason why is because you do not want centralized locations for any aid distribution, especially a starving population, because you are going to get people who literally are choosing every morning, do I get food or do I get killed? That's the choice that the Israeli government is giving Palestinians. You want dispersed aid distribution that is supported by NGOs. No, you don't pick sides on aid distribution. Israel threw that out. Then partners with, at one stage, with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, although they withdrew, creates a 5-day-old organization based in the United States called, it's like a horrific name because it's called like Gaza Relief Organization, right? And creates this organization that has no history in supply chain, let alone in famine relief. It is secured by the IDF, and so the IDF is just killing Palestinians because of the rush. I will say one thing, I've been reading what the Israelis are saying in defense. They either refute the numbers and say the numbers aren't that high, any numbers are ridiculous. But then they say, well, thousands of people showed up. I said, what did you think was going to happen? You're starving them, right? And there's wheat. And what did you think was going to happen? It is... morally, you know how I feel. Logistically, it is solvable. And the Israelis, and when I say this is their policy, is they know how to fix this and they aren't. And we are not speaking up. People in the United States are not speaking up loudly enough about what we are contributing to, which is the starvation, as Israeli government's policy is the starvation of the Palestinians.
I think one of the reasons that people aren't speaking up loudly is because people who have spoken up in favor of what's going on in Palestine, if they're Americans, they're still here. But if they are from another country, like Ms. Ozturk over in Somerville, who was taken off the street because she has written in favor of good treatment for Palestinians, and the guy Mahmoud Khalil, was that his name?
Yes,
the guy
in
from
Colombia.
Yeah, and Project 2025 has a whole, I mentioned this before, this whole section called Project Esther, the point of which is we don't want any support for Palestine.
Right.
We don't want.
It's like the Palestinians don't exist, right?
Yeah.
It's like 6 million people. Like you don't exist, and if
so
you just wish them away.
Trump, I guess.
Yeah. Trump has been almost completely quiet. Although you're starting to get some, at least hint that within the White House that this is not sustainable because you can't defend Israel at this point. Whatever their strategy is in terms of Hamas, this is not it. And people see the starving 6-year-olds, the starving 8-year-olds, or it looks like a 6-year-old, but it's actually a 16-year-old. So the attacks come against people without with U.S. citizenship, people like me who get criticized for, not condemning Hamas enough. I don't even know how to answer that. Of course, I condemn Hamas, but a strategy against Hamas does not necessarily include the strategy of starving the Palestinians. The Democratic Party has been way too silent as well.
Let's add a third group too, who's been too silent in a second. A couple of things here is that Donald Trump's campaign against your university and others is all about his alleged concern for anti-Semitism, even though he dines with neo-Nazis. It's interesting that I think most people would agree, including people who are wildly pro-Israel, is that Netanyahu has done more to create anti-Semitism around the world and people who never felt it before than anyone else. I think the major culprit, and I surely am not leaving Trump or the Democrats, the American people have the attention span of a gnat. And if they rose and demanded a ceasefire there, just like Donald Trump all of a sudden is responding to the Epstein madness because he's getting pressure, if there was pressure from below, from real people saying we care about the fact that there are more child amputees in Gaza than in any place on the planet, he'd do something. Because there's no pressure, he does nothing.
Well, but part of the reason there is no pressure is because when there was pressure on college campuses, look what happened.
Right.
Their funding was taken away.
There are a lot of people who are not undocumented or not at risk who could be speaking up, who aren't, Marjorie.
And I agree that, I've said this before with the opposition party, the Democrats. I saw former Secretary of State Blinken on a podcast with Christiane Amanpour, and it was just my jaw dropped. He was literally blaming student protesters for what was happening in Gaza. Like I was like, this is 19 months later, and he was saying there was too much support for Hamas, as if student protesters. Come on, that's a caricature of most student protesters. We haven't heard from Biden. We haven't heard from the senior leadership of the Biden administration. There's no opposition to this. You're starting to hear it, but I think Democrats should look at at Mamdani, who's the New York is the Democratic winner of the primary, and ask themselves, he was appealing to something in the party, which is a sense that America still stands for moral values, that we can condemn Hamas and we can say Israel's policies of starving the Palestinians is an immoral response to that. And I find that completely consistent. I don't find like I have to choose sides. Those are completely consistent.
We're talking to Juliette Kayyem. Can we move to a problem that actually does concern Donald Trump? Obviously, the Epstein situation. I'm not going to do all the background because people have been following this. The latest is the Justice Department wants to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, which is sort of great because you say to yourself, why wasn't she interviewed before in all this thing? That's number one. Number two, the person in the Justice Department is not only Donald Trump's who's doing the interview with her lawyer, is Donald Trump's former lawyer who praised Ghislaine Maxwell's former lawyer. And the third thing is not being said enough, except on your station, a little bit on CNN last night. Anybody who's saying, and I've heard a lot of friends say this, who care deeply about the survivors of Epstein and Maxwell, and that's where the focus should be, we really need to hear from Maxwell. Well, it's obvious if Maxwell ever speaks publicly, she's going to say Trump had nothing to do with it regardless of what the truth is,
get a deal.
because she wants to be pardoned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why are we even engaging in this charade?
Yeah,
and the last thing I'll say, I said this yesterday to John King. Let me be clear about it, because I went home and did a little research on this too. Donald Trump, he said, let's, go to the court and get the grand jury testimony released, which probably won't be. But even if it is, it's a little piece of the whole thing. Yeah. Donald Trump this minute could order the FBI Justice Department to release all the records on Epstein today at 12:18. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Instead, let's disband the House until the fall, because we don't want to have a vote on having the House actually do that. Look, Maxwell will get a pardon. Everyone, shock.
You really think he'll?
Yes. Why? Because I could have cared less about this story 3 months ago. I thought it was just part of the right wing, whatever. And I just say, this does not act like a man who's innocent of something. I mean, this is madness. I mean, what they're doing to try to keep quiet, which was, I think, clearly well, anyway, I'll be careful. But let's just say Donald Trump's long-term relationship with these people, including Maxwell, is coming out in dribs and drabs, and he's clearly freaking out.
You think his MAGA base is going to be okay with him pardoning?
No,
I don't think
they'll be okay. I don't think he has an option. I mean, this is what I think at this stage.
Let her rot in jail. That's the option.
But that also is not a solution for the MAGA.
Obviously, her to say that he had nothing to do with anything.
And never saw him on the island, never saw him with a girl, never saw him. He's not acting like someone who wasn't with a girl, a little girl, a young. Let me take that back. A young
minor,
woman.
a minor.
A minor. He's. I mean, late at night, sort of tweets about, or whatever, social media about everything but this. He is trying to distract. I think people are not going to be distracted from this because, as you said, and thank you for saying it, every once in a while I take a step back and I hear these women who were 14, 15, 16 at the time, and you're like, everyone knew around him.
And one of them just took her own life.
Yeah, every single person around him knew. They knew these girls aren't coming in and out of these rooms.
Erin Burnett on CNN interviewed a woman who was in her young 20s. She was not a minor. When she was in Epstein's office, and all of a sudden Trump showed up. And when Trump was asked about this the other day, he of course said, I was never at Epstein's office. Well, last night, the same Erin Burnett is interviewing Mark Epstein, who happens to be Jeffrey Epstein's brother. And says, was Donald Trump ever in Jeffrey Epstein's office? He says, many times.
Yeah.
So why is he?
He's at the wedding.
Then Erin says, right, he was at the wedding. Erin Burnett says, well, then why is he saying this? And the brother, matter-of-factly, Epstein's brother, says, matter-of-factly, he's lying.
Yeah.
He's just lying he does about everything else.
All the time. Yeah. When they had the Wall Street Journal reported, and he's suing the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion because they published a story saying that he sent Epstein a birthday card, and then the birthday card, he drew a picture of a naked woman and signed his name on her crotch. He said
but he never draws anything, even though he's auction off drawings many a time.
Totally normal behavior.
So,
yes.
I mean, it's to the point where every time the guy opens his mouth, he's telling you.
And I think that's true. And I mean, and I think that is true. And you're seeing a level of panic because the base is not controlled.
Well, these right-wing podcasters are still fanning the flames of the story.
Nick Fuentes.
Nick is
Charlie Kirk.
I mean, this is what happened. I mean, this is the problem with the conspiracy.
Candace
Owens.
Candace Owens. She's still fanning.
They don't like being called. They don't like being duped. But I mean, this is the problem with conspiracy theories. Is he can't control it because in their mind, of course, the conspiracy goes back to Clinton and all Democrats. So they can't even see it's clear why Trump is hiding a lot of this.
Well, don't you think? Wait. Speaking of hiding, the only conclusion I reach as to why Joe Biden didn't release the records is because Clinton was implicated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as obvious to me as the Trump thing is.
Let it all rip. Yeah. I mean, this is at this stage, and there might be, if he pardons her, there might be leaks. We might learn more. But I don't. When you say, well, he'll lose the base, I don't think he has an option anymore. I mean, I think he's the pictures are coming out. The walls are closing. Okay. He's panicked. He's doing these lawsuits against the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal has held firm. Well, the Wall Street Journal's parent organization has held firm. This is not Columbia University. People are not folding on this story. And I think part of it is because of all the lies, of all the craziness, of all the corruption of the Trump family, it does feel like this is different because it was minors. I mean, there's been
an obsession with pedophilia, and everybody thinks it's horrible, horrible, horrible. We know the whole thing with the Comet Pizza thing. That was all about a pedophile sex ring.
And they're all arrested.
So this is like a big theme that has been whipped up. Then it was whipped up years ago, and now it's
Hillary Clinton.
Yes, Hillary Clinton. I mean, as I said a million times, I mean, you could dislike Hillary Clinton. I can't see her running a pedophile sex ring,
especially
in
not in the basement of a pizza parlor.
In Washington, D.C.
So we'll see. But I mean, my personal feeling is like they're going to clearly pardon her because they just don't have. I don't know how many alternatives he has, but he does. I mean, this does seem different. I've never, everyone's always like, it's the end. I know this guy holds on forever.
Well,
but
did you see the polls? Did you see the polls? They were talking about how he's underwater on a lot of things. He's immigration, economy, and stuff like that. And maybe he's under like 15 points, 11 points, something.
Nothing's like this.
He's like under like 30 or 40 points on this. I mean, people are really.
And
on
honestly,
both sides.
I could care less about it 3 months ago. Like I really thought it was this like right-wing conspiracy, and now I'm like, this is not a person acting like. This is a person who feels like they're at some sort of dead end.
We just got a thing from Drudge about that he's playing his greatest hits. He's talking about treason and Obama. He's talking about Hillary Clinton's emails. He's talking about all these other things.
Oh yeah, and then the best one is, of course, let's change the football team's names back to
the racist names.
because that's always a good place to be. So we'll see.
Juliet, good to see you.
Thank you, Juliet.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
We have been speaking with National Security expert Juliet Kayyem, former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security under President Barack Obama, faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard University's School of Government, and CNN senior national security analyst. Juliet, thank you very much. After a quick break, yesterday we spoke with two senior market basket executives placed on leave hours later. One of them was fired, and then another one was fired. We're going to speak with Joe Schmidt, this time joined by Tom Gordon, the second individual who was fired. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to Boston Public Radio and 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
You can't outrun a bad diet. A new study offers strong evidence that it's what you eat that's driving obesity, not lack of exercise.
Our bodies obey the laws of physics, and so all of our body weight has to be a result of the energy that we've brought in with our diet and then the energy that we've burned off.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly, the causes of global obesity on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Maine Maritime Museum, offering oyster tasting cruises throughout the summer. Visitors can learn about aquaculture from Maine's oyster farmers and experience freshly shucked oysters. MaineMaritimeMuseum.org. And MIT Sloan Executive Education, offering short courses on critical topics led by world-class faculty. Professionals can get up to speed on AI, innovation, cybersecurity, and operational strategy. More at executive.mit.edu.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Yesterday here at the library, we spoke to two market basket executives, Joe Schmidt, 39 years with the company, and Paul Quigley, 44 years with the company, who'd been placed on leave for what the board claimed was, quote, disruptive behaviors connected to the Market Basket CEO, also on paid leave, Arthur T. Demoulas. We asked Schmidt yesterday whether he was worried about being fired for speaking out in support of Mr. Demoulas.
It would hurt, but I'll tell you something. What's more important is doing the right thing. And I said that 11 years ago, and I mean it today, because the right person running the company is Mr. Demoulas, because it not only protects the community, the market basket culture, it's something worth standing up for. If you can't stand up for something good in your life, then what's the purpose of life?
I should have made clear, and Joe Schmidt was fired 11 years ago, too. Hours after that appearance, Schmidt was fired, along with another executive, Tom Gordon, 50 years with the company, for what the Market Basket's board of directors said was, quote, insubordination, making false and derogatory remarks about the company and people associated with it, and inappropriate communications with colleagues. In a statement, suspended CEO Arthur T. Demoulas criticized the firings, calling Schmidt part of the heart and soul of the company and a person of integrity and honor. He praised both of these men. He described what was going on as a pre-planned coup. We're joined now by Joe Smith and the second fired executive, Tom Gordon. Together, as I say, 89 years of service to the company. We really appreciate your time today, gentlemen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm really sorry that you got fired. That's not easy to get fired. So tell us, Joe, how this happened. What happened?
Yeah, so after the show yesterday, I got a text message from somebody that informed me that my position and Tom's position were filled. Some type of memo went out to the company earlier in the day. So once we saw that, we realized that, this probably isn't good news. Shortly thereafter, I received a call from Stephen Collins, who's on the board of directors, and informed me that the company had made the decision to terminate me.
Do you have a similar experience, Tom Gordon?
Very similar. I was actually away yesterday up in Vermont on a little trip, and I received again a text message. Somebody had sent me a copy of the letter that had gone out to the company informing us that my position had been filled, Joe's position had been filled, and another title that I've never heard of had been created. And I received a call about 1:20 in the afternoon from Stephen Collins telling me the same thing, that although they appreciated my long-time service, they felt it was time for us to part ways, and he said your employment at Market Basket has been terminated.
How's this feel, Tom?
It's very disheartening. It's an awful feeling. I mean, I was fired prior in 2014.
Oh, you were both. I didn't know.
Correct,
you up too. I'd forgotten. That's right.
But like I said, Joe and I, and I've been around a little longer than Joe, but have given my life since I was a 15-year-old kid to this company, always trying to do what's in the best interest of the company, our customers, trying to preserve our cultural, and work under the guidance of Arthur Demoulas, and it's been a great career. I was hoping it lasted a little longer, but it's disheartening. It's tough on everybody's family, and I'm sure it's tough on a lot of the associates who have known us for a long time.
Well, when you say I hoped it would last a little longer, last time you were both fired and you both were hired back. I assume you hope or believe that's going to be the result here too? Or?
I believe that. I only say a few years longer because I'm 65. I planned on working until I was 7 years, okay. 75. So.
Okay. What was it? How did this feel to you?
Yeah, the same thing. Very disheartening, and as a side note, you should probably take a career as a prognosticator at this point.
Well, sorry, I was right.
Oh, I know. Listen, it's troublesome to the family, but you know what? I'm proud of being fired for the right thing, which is the culture of the company. Mr. Demoulas, his family. Protecting the communities. It's something worth getting fired for. I'll be okay. I'll land on my feet. I have enough confidence in my skills. I've learned from the company and a lot of people that I worked with along the way.
One of the things that I am sort of a half-assed lawyer, but haven't practiced in years, but I know enough to know that whenever somebody's fired in a high-profile fashion, immediately a lawyer or two tell them, don't say anything until we decide how we're going to handle this. Why are you two talking? You had a press conference earlier this morning.
Yes, we did.
You're here, which we much appreciate. Starting with you, Joe, why did you decide to continue to speak out?
Well, I think that the new regime that's running the market right now is very much trying to silence people. And anytime you do that and you don't let people express their opinion, I think that's problematic. So that's a main point for me, is wanting to continue out there to fight for the company, fight for the culture, and be the voice for the people that don't feel comfortable speaking up at this point.
Do you share that perspective?
I agree. This is not about money or trying to hold on to my job to make more cash. This is about doing what's in the best interest of that company and doing what I know is right, which is support Arthur Demoulas' way of running this company and continue to do that. And the chips will fall before they fall.
Do you agree with his characterization? This is a pre-planned coup?
I do.
We said this yesterday, but Tom, I'll say it to you and get your response. It's so odd to me after what happened in 2014, and people were shopping at Star Market and Stop and Shop and putting their sales receipts, taping them to the walls. And I remember going over there and interviewing people that worked at Market Basket, and people talked about Arthur, and they talked about the company, and they talked about this good feeling they had about the place. Somebody texted earlier saying this is like killing the golden goose. Barely, just a little more than 10 years later, to be back in the same place. So you've been there for 50 years. I understand people want to make a lot of money. I understand maybe somebody wants their son to get, a high place position or something. But this seems like killing the golden goose to me. What's your analysis?
I would agree with you, and I think it's more about, again, sticking up for your beliefs and what you know is the right thing to do. I also have a son who works for this company who's been there a number of years. And I've told him, listen, I need to do what I need to do, what I know is right in my heart to do, and you'll have to figure out what you want to do at some point yourself.
You think he's got a target on his back because of this?
I don't know if he's got a target on his back. He's pretty good about keeping his head down and doing his work, but he's in a very uncomfortable position, I'm sure.
So, have either
Having
of you
his dad fired.
Sorry, my apologies. Have either of you spoken to Arthur DeMoulis since your firing?
Yes.
What was that conversation like, Joe?
You know, he handled it like he always does. He's a gentleman. He's very caring about myself, my family, and, you know, was almost apologetic for it, you know, because he knows it's not in the best interest of the company, and he knows that Tom and I are dedicated to working there, and that we've...
Has he offered to help you during this period while that you're unemployed?
No, just moral support, you know, and that's what we expect.
What's he been up to, I wonder? Have you have any idea? He sounds like he's a guy that spent a lot of time at work. We had a caller earlier that said that when one of the stores reopened after the 2014 mess, he was standing at the door shaking people's hands. Was it Littleton? Thank you, as they came in. So is he like going to the beach on the Cape, or is he like monitoring the situation 24/7?
You know, and at that Littleton store, he was out in the sun for about 4 hours shaking people's hands because he believes in the people. But to that point, you know, Mr. DeMoulis is not going to just give up the fight. You know, we intend to be back. And, you know, the company and the culture is too important for anybody to let it go, and he certainly will not.
Are you going to sue the board?
Have to make a decision on that. You know, I'm not very pleased with the allegations that they've made. You know, the fact that they say that I was insubordinate or that Tom was insubordinate, nobody ever told us that we're even responsible to report to the board of directors. Usually the board of directors deals with officers, CEOs, CFOs, not regular management. So the board has, you know, under the guides of Jay Hatchigan, who works at Gunderson Detmer.
He's the chair.
Yes, they essentially have taken control of the board of directors and now taken control of the day-to-day operations of the company. And a couple of these guys, you know, Stephen Collins, he's a private equity guy.
Another board member.
Yeah, and if you look at their profiles, Collins, Hatchigan, and Keys, you'll see that what their background is and what they are versed in. And it certainly isn't operating a cultural supermarket that takes care of the people.
I think there's a fairly long state. We requested an appearance by a member of the board, and they instead sent us a statement that I'm sure they sent to everybody. And I believe, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong because I'm sure you both read it, that they said that you also, both of you, made unkind, that wasn't their word, disparaging remarks about the three sisters of Arthur and the board. Is that true, Tom?
The comment they made is a comment that I did not make.
And how about you?
No, I've never made disparaging comments. What they don't like is I've been making statements out in the media, and I stand behind those statements. You know, statements such as a culture of fear. You know, there is a culture of fear. The record will reflect it, and they don't want to believe it.
Tom, I want to ask you what we asked Paul yesterday and Joe Schmidt. I, as a loyal Market Basket shopper in Somerville, my favorite store, participated in the boycott because that was what we were asked to do in 2014. Yesterday we asked Paul and Joe. I'm not sure if you answered, Joe, but I know Paul did. And he was hesitant. He said, after pausing for maybe 10 seconds, he said, that's every customer's decision. But we opened the phone lines from 11 to 11:35 today, and people wanted to hear from you two as leaders of, well, now former leaders of the company, hope leaders. Again, here's a typical call. This is Diane from Bedford, New Hampshire. She called us about 11:20. Here's Diane.
I found out the news today on your show that they got fired.
Yeah.
And I was actually getting ready to go shopping to Market Basket. So I am not going there today. I will boycott. And I hadn't heard on the last boycott, that people were putting their receipts from other stores on and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So what guidance, what are you urging people who support the DeMoulis regime, for lack of a better expression? What are you urging customers to do there, Tom?
I would say that they have to make their own decision, but this is not just a decision of whether to go to that store because the pricing is right or whatever other reason. It's about everybody knows our culture of the company, and they know Arthur DeMoulis and everything's done for the community. And to see two long-term associates like us to be terminated on some allegations that we completely disagree with, I think they're going to look more past where the right price is and say, do I want to go there based on the way they're treating people now?
Well, I have to, with all due respect, there's a little disconnect in what you just said. You start by saying you have to make your own decision, but then you go on to say, which I happen to agree with, you shouldn't worry about the few bucks for the time being, assuming you can afford the few bucks. You should act upon principle, support the culture. That, to me, sounds like, if you're a person of principle, stop shopping at the store. Am I reading? Well, let me get from Tom before I got to you, Joe.
I don't need to read anything into it other than people have to make their own evaluation of where they want to go based on...
Should I stop shopping at Market Basket in Somerville?
That's up to you, Jim.
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, both of my kids work there. They're part-time.
They do too?
Yes, they do. One's in the bakery, one's in the checkout area.
Oh my God!
And they're a little.
No.
Yeah, they're a little bit younger than Tom's kids, or children, or grown adults. But I can tell you one thing. If the culture gets affected the way that it's starting to look like it's going to be affected under this leadership team of the board of directors taking control and instilling Michael Kettenbach as CEO, my children will no longer work there because they will not support a company that treats people like that.
How do you think the culture is going to change?
I think the culture already has changed.
How?
Jay Hatchigan says that the culture is vibrant, but they took Mr. DeMoulas and they put him on the bench and they took two guys that have dedicated their lives out of the company. That's not how we operate. To find out with a text message that people have filled my position and I get a phone call after that, unacceptable, not Market Basket. That tells me everything I need to know.
Talk about why RDT was able to do this. It's unusual. We were talking earlier how rare it is that you see a CEO get the kind of support from the employees. What was it about the way he ran the company when he was until very recently running it?
Arthur was a great guy to work for and with at the time, and still is today. You could always get a hold of the boss if you needed something. He was accessible. He heard your opinion on everything. He would make his decision at some point, but he always heard you out. His respect for everybody he came in contact with in the stores was second to none. I've learned so much from that man about how to handle situations, how to deal with some people, and look at the bigger picture. Don't make a rash decision. Think about it. And he's just been such a great leader and a great friend and mentor to me that I couldn't think to work for a better guy.
What would you say, Joe?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, he is just a gentleman through and through. He cares about people. He puts people before profits at the end of the day. And by taking that approach and having that business model, the profits come, right? So it's take care of the customers, take care of the associates, and everything falls in place. And you can run a profitable company, but do it with pride.
I'm sorry, Mark,
you mentioned standing out in the sun for 4 hours in Littleton to shake people's hands. That's quite unusual.
Yeah, and he's the type of person that he will take the time to speak to every single person that wants to speak with him. A store visit for Tom and I might be a half hour to an hour. A store visit for Mr. DeMoulas is probably about 4 hours because he's constantly talking to everybody because he understands and he wants to learn from the customers and he wants to know about them as individuals. That's very special.
That's what Willie Nelson does at his concerts, by the way. The exact same thing as
Tom's
DeMoulas. Tom.
We've been at store openings with Arthur, and we'll be up front talking for a little bit, and he'll say, come on, let's go for a walk around. Take a lap around the building. It takes 4 hours. He talks to everybody, talks to every customer, and he doesn't rush anybody aside and then let me get to somebody. He intently listens, and he takes time with every single person he comes in contact. And it's amazing to watch him, just his patience and his genuine concern for what everybody has to say to him. It's a great time.
Tom, we asked Joe and Paul this question, a variation on this yesterday, so I'll address it to you. Being good to your executives and your employees, gaining their loyalty in ways that you almost never hear of in this country, having customers I can't think of a situation where customers, at least based on our random example, overwhelmingly supporting executives of a grocery store chain as their leaders on this cause. Speak to a CEO listening to the show who isn't practicing the DeMoulas approach, even though Market Basket's making a ton of money, so obviously it's working. What do you say to them about why this is the right route?
They just need to be involved with all of their associates, and you get so much back from your associates in loyalty and appreciation for them.
Associates are what you call rank and file employees,
absolutely,
right? Yeah.
Full-time associates. I mean, the time that Arthur would spend going to see people who are retiring, going to see somebody who's maybe got a sick family member, the amount of time he spends on that, and it's rubbed off on us because we try to do the same thing. It's more important to go see somebody and look them in the eye. I mean, to stand. In today's society, maybe somebody that, God forbid, passes away, and somebody goes online and says, I send my thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
The boss has taught us to stand in the rain for 2 hours, wait your turn, look them in the eye, and tell them you're sorry for their loss.
Well, I know I speak for Marjorie, and I think I speak for virtually our whole audience. We wish you both luck. We hope you continue to fight. We hope you're all back where you belong, and we hope you'll stay in touch with us. Any way we can get this story out, we will do our best.
We're out of time, but real quick, you think Arthur T is going to win?
Never count them out.
I wouldn't bet against the boss.
Gentlemen,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Good luck to you
Thank you
both.
so much.
I really
Appreciate it.
it.
We have been speaking with former, at least for now, Market Basket executives Joe Schmidt and Tom Gordon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming in again. We much appreciate it. And again, sorry about what happened. Thank you. Coming up after this quick break, it's another round of our occasional series, How Do You Know Each Other? We've got two people who were big stars in New York City, and Boston stole them away, and now they're big stars here in Boston. We're going to find out how they got together and what they're doing here. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You're listening to BPR on 89.7, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Trusted, local news.
Harvard says it's extending its hiring freeze as uncertainty continues over the future of the university's federal funding.
GBH News.
Massachusetts is among more than a dozen states suing the Trump administration over its decision to cut FEMA funding for natural disaster prevention.
Here for what matters to you.
Worcester is considering ways to address its shortage of supermarkets.
GBH 89.7. Online at gbhnews.org.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Mass General Brigham. Their leading heart and vascular specialists are committed to providing breakthrough care to patients with cutting-edge research and innovative treatments. Learn more at massgeneralbrigham.org/heart. And the Museum of Science, presenting the new exhibit, Perception Playground, which explores how your brain shapes your understanding of reality. Tickets at mos.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Time for the latest installment of our occasional series, So How Do You Two Know Each Other? Where we bring together two figures involved in Boston life who happen to be connected in a pretty deep way. With us at the interview desk are a couple of husbands, Ariel Foxman and Brandon Cardet, did I pronounce Hernandez. In a past life, Ariel was editor-in-chief for InStyle magazine. He's now vice president of brand and experience for Seaport Development. Brandon is the former education advisor to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Do you know where he went to high school? Cambridge Rindge and Latin, exactly. Know. These days, he runs the language learning company, Mrs. Wordsmith, in addition to being on the Boston School Committee and Mass Council for Latino Empowerment. It's great to meet you both. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start with you, Brandon. Tell us this, what happened on the A train in Manhattan.
Well, Ariel and I had the long history of knowing each other, but we hadn't seen each other for many years. And I was reading an article, actually, that was about his dad. And I looked up...
Former head of the ADL, I should say.
Former head of the ADL, Abraham Foxman, a legend in his own right. And I looked up and I see Ariel Foxman across the way. And I'm like, get over here, let's talk. And so we ended up talking. We missed a few stops along the way.
Yes.
And then I thought, this conversation was extra fun.
You know, we know about this because there's a beauful pice written in the New York Times more than a decade ago about the two of you. The best line in the piece, 2014, their relationship took a while to become spectacular. So that was the writer for the New York Times. Why did it take a while to become spectacular?
I think as we knew each other as friends, first as acquaintances, then as friends, and then it started to develop. And, I didn't write the piece. It was pretty spectacular from the get-go.
It was.
And it continues to get more and more so.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
So before we talk about your lives in Boston and how you collaborate or whatever it is, starting with you, what were you doing in New York City?
I was the editor-in-chief of InStyle magazine, the whole InStyle brand, for about 10 years.
The biggest in the industry.
The biggest in the industry. It's no longer a print magazine. Yeah. It's now online. But, we had the biggest in terms of circulation and in terms of ad pages and oversaw all of our international editions.
Yeah. And why'd you leave there?
In 2016, I could see that magazines were shrinking. And I like to build. And I couldn't build anymore. You had to just be more and more and more efficient, do very little with very little. And for me, that wasn't the type of storytelling I wanted to do. And so I said, I'm going to make a plan to leave magazines. And I had the opportunity to interview the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
That was a great interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, could you give us any tidbits or little nuggets of what she had to say?
I mean, she was incredible. It was at the end of the second term, and she was ready to leave. Yeah. And I think I got her at a time where she was in complete relief. She was totally relaxed. She just kept talking about how she couldn't wait to wake up in the morning and look at the headlines and know, I'm not responsible for that. And I thought, this is a great interview. This is a great cover subject for me to say, I've done my piece at InStyle, hand it over to somebody else, and move into other types of storytelling.
Before we leave that, is she going to run? I mean, she says she's not her husband
run.
told Tim Russert on Meet the Press he wasn't going to run either.
No.
I think he did. Is she going to run?
She's having way too much fun, I think, to run.
I'm so sorry
but
to
I
hear
just
that.
want to mention, I mentioned before we went on the air, the InStyle piece on her, the pictures of her in these incredible dresses over the time she was in the White House. La-di-da, they were just great.
Thank you.
And what were you doing in New York?
Oh, I've spent my career in education. So I was a teacher, I was a turnaround principal, and as our exit started to take place and we were thinking about what's our next chapter, I was actually the advisor to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
And you helped him? I'm sorry, Governor.
I was just going to say, I'm very interested in turnaround things. Did you advocate for merit pay?
I have talked a lot about paying young people to go to school.
Aha, Jim.
I have. And
it's okay that he's wrong about that. That's fine.
Why?
Well, there's two different ways I've talked about merit pay. I've talked about merit pay for teachers working in schools that are more complex to staff. And so thinking about different salary differentials for teachers.
Okay, even though one of us hates an idea we both like, is that okay?
Hold on, I just want to ask one more question. Math and science, it's hard to get math and science teachers. I think that's one of the things maybe you might want to pay them more to get them.
And it's hard to get special education teachers.
Yes.
And it's also there are some schools that have greater complexities and require a different skill set. And so if you're doing different work, you're facing, you're encountering more vulnerable kids, maybe there's something for us to consider.
Okay, we're going to have him back on. We get a fight about the
No, we're not. Okay, so pre-K for all. Were you there when? Okay, so you do pre-K for all, which is spectacular. We're all 4-year-olds in the city. Let's make the move to Boston. We'll find out in a minute why you moved here, but let's talk about, you're on the school committee.
Yeah.
We're not there by a long shot in Boston. Why can't we emulate a city in which it's far more expensive,
no merit pay,
with many more students in the system? Why aren't we doing this universal pre-K thing?
It's a much larger conversation, and I will just say New York City did universal pre-K and also universal 3K. So it is actually a universal program starting at 3
So it's
years
even
old.
worse.
So it's even bigger.
Okay.
And you have a lot of neighborhood schools.
And we have neighborhood schools. It's a complex industry. We could have this conversation for a long time. I think historically this is women's work, so it is devalued. I think we don't really consider the expertise that's needed to do early childhood education. But as New York City did, we really took in the existing infrastructure of the providers that had happened, whether that's home care in the projects or folks who are doing, centers across the city, and then brought them into a system where we could actually bring equity to the existing workforce.
We're talking to Ariel Foxman and Brandon Cardet Hernandez. Why'd you move from New York City to Boston? I did the same thing a long time ago. Why'd you do it?
We had been in New York for 2 decades. My work was more remote, and Brandon wanted to make a mark in education in Boston. And those of you who are listening to him speak about education right now, I fell in love with Brandon listening to him talk about education. It's true. It sounds corny, but it's true. And there's a lot of things to love about Brandon, but every time he is passionate about an education project, I think, you know what?
It's a real turn on.
It's a turn on. I believe it. I believe in it, and I believe in him. And he had an opportunity here in Boston, and I had gone to school here years ago, so it felt like this is a place we could make home. And then I had this wonderful opportunity to really do storytelling in a 4-dimensional way at the Seaport neighborhood.
And what exactly are you doing in the Seaport?
So I oversee this incredible Seaport marketing team. And what do? We put on 500 free events all year long. We work with our tenants to make sure that the Seaport feels exciting, new, innovative, and accessible. And the Seaport is this incredible neighborhood that has very little history, right? Very few people have memories of Seaport.
Right. Parking lots.
Parking lots, right? That's the thing you hear all the time. And we have the privilege of creating programming, events, a calendar that allows people to create new memories in a new neighborhood. And so I do that and tell that story and inspire folks to come to Seaport and try new things.
How are we doing on diversity in the Seaport? I mean, before you moved to town, there was a series on racism in the Boston Globe, and Adrian Walker wrote a piece about the lack of diversity, lack of thought about diversity from the Menino administration and others in the creation of the Seaport. Is it better than it was, or are we not there yet?
I'm super excited. This weekend alone, we have a partnership with Boston While Black to bring their family reunion from Launandee into Seaport. It's our 5th year of Black-owned Boss Market on summer weekends. So there's always work to be done, but our goal is to get as many people into the Seaport and enjoying as many different diverse types of businesses.
I will say, too, not to speak out of turn, but as
I know, it's a real turn on when he mentions Seaport. Is that what you're going to say?
No, but I'll say, as like a Latino guy who moved to Boston, I think, Boston is, like many cities, an incredibly segregated place.
Yeah.
And there is something magical, and I read that piece about the Seaport, but there is something magical when you're in Seaport because it doesn't belong to anyone. It doesn't have the history of Beacon Hill or a South End.
Point.
And you go to a restaurant in Seaport, and it is the most integrated place in the city.
I went to 2 last weekend, Noan and Mr. H, and they were both spectacular.
Fantastic.
So, Mrs. Wordsmith, what is this deal?
So we build literacy tools.
That's what you're doing now.
That is what I'm doing now. I'm the president of the company. We build literacy tools that help kids on 2 things that I'm sort of obsessed with, phonics and vocabulary. When I talk about vocabulary, I'm talking about like tier 2, tier 3 words.
Why is it that 70% of kids in the United States are really struggling with reading?
Phonics and vocabulary.
Because too many of them are not learning phonics.
They're
like
not
they used
learning
to.
how to sound out words and then blend them. And
how does that happen? That you can realize that you kind of got rid of phonics for a while.
We did. I think, private industry made its way into education as it has. It pushed an idea that you could cue reading and essentially teach reading by osmosis. And the reality is our brains are not totally wired to read. It is a skill that has to be taught. It doesn't come naturally to people. And you have to explicitly teach it. And then...
So is Boston doing the phonics?
We are doing phonics
So
here.
they've switched because they weren't.
They have.
Okay.
And then once you teach phonics, there's this second thing that happens, which you have to know words. You have to know what you're reading. And then you have to explicitly teach those words.
So I want you to know, this is bad news, but I have to be honest. Marjorie's going to ask you to leave Ariel and join her. Because let me tell you, you're nailing every cause that she... So we learned...
I'm obsessed with education, too, even though I know nothing about it compared to you. But I just know that in a city like Boston, we should have the best schools in the nation.
There's no reason.
And it's so frustrating that they never really make it.
Okay, so you're also on the advisory board on Latino whatever for Healy, correct?
Yep.
I learned a couple of years ago, 100% of the population growth in Boston, you know this, of course, in the last X number of years, decade or so, is Latinos. But their increase in power in the city, while it's going up, is in no way commensurate with their increase in population. Why? Why the disconnect, do you think?
I think, there is... Boston can be an insular town.
Yes, indeed.
It is. We have now been here for some years. It is a hard place to get welcomed into. Mm-hmm. And I think there is slowly a shift that's happening where people are starting to think about folks from outside as being able to contribute, offering a different perspective. I think about that with the current mayor who appointed me to the school board, right? Seeing someone from outside the city offering something different. I think we need to see that with the Latino community as well.
How's the collaboration deal? Every time we do one of these, how do you two know each other? It's generally people who have positions of real importance in the city who do totally different things. We know how you feel about education talk, but is this a collaborative, other than a personally collaborative thing, is it a professionally collaborative thing between the two of you?
Oh, 100%. In fact, our son just said the other day, you've been talking about this problem all year. And it was
he's
not...
7? Was he 7?
He's about to be 8, and it was like nothing specific. It was just work talk. And, we explained it's not a problem, it's an opportunity, this is what grown-ups do. But I think part of the spark between Brandon and I that have stayed really, really strong is fueled by professional development and investment in what we're doing. And at the end of the day, Brandon needs to connect with educators, students, people in sales. I have to connect with visitors, residents. It's all about connection and what is the smartest way to reflect that into your work and into your daily life. And so we are very aligned in that. Also, my best, moments are when Brandon will come to Seaport after like 2 weeks of not being there. He's like, oh, this opened, and then what about this sign? And, so we are very much involved. I happen to know how to read, so I'm not as helpful in the product development, but we are aligned on strategy and professional development.
But we also both tell stories. Like, as we are talking about this, in order for people to understand there's a crisis in education, they have to understand it and people have to help them see it. And Ariel has spent his career telling stories, so I think we are learning a lot from each other of how to create urgency.
She built a whole career as the best columnist in Boston, as the best storyteller.
Isn't that
no,
nice
as the best storyteller in Boston.
Thank
it's totally
you,
true.
thank you. We're almost out of time, but I have a son who's leaving New York after 15 years. He's about to have a nervous breakdown. He's reading that Joan Didion, Goodbye to All That piece, and crying. I mean, we only have about a minute left, but how much do you miss it? You must miss it some.
We miss it, but we have the opportunity to go back. A lot of family and friends are still there.
Yeah.
I said to Brandon when we moved here, we'll be successful in Boston if we don't compare it to anything like New York.
That's a good line.
And if we're not having fun in Boston, it's our own fault.
Yep.
And Boston continues to delight, and we love it here, and it's our home.
It's our home.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to do a little education talk to excite him before you go? Maybe
I'll get it later.
It's really great to meet you guys.
So nice to meet you.
And
Thank
then
you
do come back to talk about education. And we'd love to talk to you about the Seaport. We talk about it a lot. Sometimes positive, sometimes not, but we'd love your input. So
when you get down there
we'll
at Christmas time, I was stunned to see like hundreds of people in line to get into the Christmas.
Coming back, 5th year.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, thank you very much for coming in.
We really appreciate it.
Speaking to Ariel Foxman, Vice President of Brand and Experience for the Seaport, and Brandon Cardet Hernandez, he's president of Mrs. Wordworth and a member of the Boston Public School Committee, the Boston School Committee. Thank you very much for coming in. Coming up after the 1 o'clock news, the owners of La Saison Bakery, 2 Iranian immigrants who started their business in Tehran and brought it to the Boston community. We're going to talk. They're in Charlestown and Cambridge, and they got great stuff. We're going to talk to them in just a second. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR on 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
The news and reporting you hear on GBH is made possible by the listeners who trust the GBH newsroom to deliver fact-based news and information every day. Support the journalism you trust. Pitch in online at gbhnews.org.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Heights Crossing, an assisted living and memory support community offering residents experiences aimed at promoting independence, inspiring curiosity, and encouraging connection with others. More at heightscrossing.com. And the MBTA Commuter Rail, providing public transportation service to over 170 cities and towns in Massachusetts. Just take the train. You can plan your trip at mbta.com/massbytrain.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on Hour 3 of BPR Live from the Boston Public Library. The Iranian-owned bakery, La Saison, is a must-try for anyone living in and around Cambridge or Charlestown. We'll talk with the husband and wife owners of the bakery about folding Persian flavors into pastry staples and the couple's long road to Massachusetts from Tehran, where family still remains.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then we'll end the show with some shame. We often lament the lack of shame in American life, politics, and business. But maybe out of the Coldplay concert Kiss Cam drama, there's hope that shame and its consequences are back. Or maybe we all just need to be better about hiding our side pieces from prying public eyes. Weigh in next, Shame and You, on the third hour of BPR on 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is unveiling an action plan on AI. Today, he's expected to sign executive orders that advance Silicon Valley's priorities by rolling back Biden-era regulations on artificial intelligence. NPR's Deepa Shivaram takes a closer look.
The White House says there are over 90 policy actions included in the plan, which centers around removing barriers to innovation and technology and rapidly building up infrastructure like AI data centers. White House AI czar David Sachs told reporters that it's important the U.S. is the dominant force on AI on the global stage.
It's a global competition now to lead in artificial intelligence, and we want the United States to win that race.
The White House also wants to make sure, quote, ideological bias isn't in the AI models used by the federal government. They want a, quote, standard of truthfulness. But officials did not go into detail on what exactly that means. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News.
Mass protests erupt in Ukraine. Activist remarks captured by the Associated Press in the streets of the capital, Kyiv, today. People angry. President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a bill that many are worried will undermine Ukraine's main anti-corruption bodies. Meanwhile, negotiators from Ukraine and Russia are holding talks today about ending their more than 3-year-old war. NPR's Charles Maine says the meeting's being held in Turkey.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky initiated the talks with an appeal to Moscow to accelerate negotiations towards a ceasefire, yet expectations remain stubbornly low. Ahead of the talks, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned not to expect miracles or breakthroughs and said Russia remained committed to achieving its military goals. The spokesman also made clear the Kremlin was not ready to engage Zelensky's calls for a face-to-face meeting with President Vladimir Putin aimed at securing a lasting peace. Instead, Russia is signaling it may agree to additional exchanges of prisoners and war dead, the lone accomplishment from previous negotiations and far less than the Trump administration is demanding. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
Opening federal lands to housing could provide relief in some areas, but as NPR's Laurel Walmsley reports, a new study also finds the land is not located where housing is most needed.
The U.S. government owns roughly 640 million acres of land, and the Trump administration has pushed to sell some of it and develop it for housing. The discussion has focused on land overseen by the Bureau of Land Management. The problem, notes a new study from Realtor.com, is where that land is located. The biggest acreages are in Alaska and Nevada. Other western states have big chunks too. But there's virtually no BLM land in the Northeast and in most metro areas nationwide, where housing costs are among the highest. Building homes and infrastructure on remote acreages would be expensive too. Still, if some of the land were used for millions of new homes, many Americans might find it attractive to move there.
That's Laurel Walmsley. It's NPR.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. 2 Market Basket executives fired by the company's board are speaking out about their terminations and the ongoing turmoil into the grocery chain's leadership ranks. Market Basket Director of Operations Joe Schmidt and Grocery Supervisor Tom Gordon were informed of their terminations yesterday. Both men are backers of the supermarket CEO, Arthur T. Demoulas, who was suspended by the board in May. Board claims that Demoulas was trying to organize a work stoppage among rank-and-file employees, and it says that Schmidt and Gordon were fired for insubordination and making false statements about the company. At a news conference today, Schmidt accused the board and Demoulas sisters of making a power play to push their brothers and his allies out.
Quite frankly, I think it's a coup. I think it has been from day one. There's an agenda from the sisters to remove the boss. They've done that, and now the ball is in the board's court.
The Market Basket Board did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Well, Vice President J.D. Vance raised $3 million for the Republican National Committee at his swanky Nantucket fundraiser last night, so says the New York Post, which also says that $3 million is a fundraising record for an event on the island. The event was held at the summer home of Laura and Rob Reynolds. Rob is the CEO of Putnam Investments, and we understand that Vice President Vance and his family have left Nantucket. They did that about 45 minutes ago. Phillies go for the sweep of the Red Sox tonight at Citizens Bank Park. It's 81 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who want to help build a culture of inclusiveness. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Thank you, and I'm extremely excited about our next guest.
See how long you can not eat, Marjorie.
I've already eaten,
By the way,
Jim.
we mentioned earlier, we're getting a number of texts about this. The mayoral runoff, preliminary, whatever the hell it's called in Boston, is September 9th. Mayor Wu will be with us the last week in August. I'll give you the date in a second. And the 26th. Thank you, Jamie. And, we have Kraft confirmed. And what day is he? And Josh Kraft, her primary opponent, will be here the 27th. So the final week before Labor Day, if you're a Boston voter, we really, really think it's important for you to tune in. We're going to start this hour with, as is evidenced by Marjorie's comments, some food and culture, care of the Iranian-American-owned bakery La Saison. A must-try for anybody living in and around Cambridge and Charlestown. Originally founded in Tehran in 2007, husband-wife duo behind the bakery moved here, I think, in 2017. If I got any of those facts wrong, they'll correct me. Joining us now at the library are the owners of La Saison Bakery. Sohair Fateh, pleasure to meet you. On crutches, we're sorry, but you seem to be smiling. And Sarah Moripour, it's a great honor to have you both. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and I've already been digging into some of the pastries.
You're not supposed to do that, actually.
And we have one of our colleagues who has an incredible praise for you guys. But before that, just tell us, how did this start? How this became in 2017? How did this bakery all start?
Yeah, so we migrated in 2017, but it all started at 2020 in the middle of COVID.
Yes.
So Sohail has been having the same business back in Iran for almost 20 years now. A bakery.
Okay.
But when we came here, it kind of, my dad was sick at first, so it was a lot of hardship at the beginning. We were both looking for jobs, and then Sohail got a position at Flour Bakery. And then after when the COVID hit, he got laid off, and then this place popped up near my sister's house. So we kind of saw that, and
a space near your sister's house.
The location that we're in.
Speaking of Flour Bakery, I texted Joanne Chang this morning. She said he is super sweet and caring. That was about you. I want you to know. So you have a fan in a very important place. Tell us, before we stay here, tell us about the family business in Iran.
Yeah. So we have a backstory to the bakery we started. So I'm going to tell a short story, but my dad, he got bankrupt. So my mom had to start baking at home, and we had to start helping her when we got back from the school. So it's kind of we start learning to bake, but we hate it because every day we just coming back from the school and you have that smell of water and just you have to clean the pan and everything. And we hate it every single day. So I went to university, got some education and all stuff, and started working at 8 to 4 for a really good company. And one day say, no, this is not my life. I have to do something else. And I never baked before, so I started baking. And that time, my dad was kind of bankrupt for the third time, I think, and he just getting a little bit depressed for it. And he was home and it's I want to bake, I want to do this, and I'm going to continue what my mom was doing. And she was doing some a pound cake and all stuff, getting to coffee shops and supermarkets. And he said, no, I'm not going to do this. This is dumb. You cannot do that. And I said, I'm going to do it if you want to come, or if you. So I started. And in a week, he just comes do you need a partner? So if you can just be in the kitchen, I'm going to sell and just drive. So we started 2 people. And then after 3 weeks, we have a dishwasher. But that company right now, we have 120 bakers right now working. Yes.
Wow.
It's I think right now we are around 20 years old, 15 to 20 years old. And we have 120 bakers.
There was some damage though am I not right, from the recent bombings to the business? What happened exactly?
So one of our stores, which is in north of Tehran, when they bombed the building in the front, and the guy just our guys just got a phone call in the mornings all these windows and everything is collapsing. And we had to, I think they shut down for 10 days, so they had to tell everybody go home. They trying to just continue doing some stuff.
How is the family? You have father, mother, brother, am I right about that? How are they doing?
Stressed.
Yeah.
My brother, he getting some medicine and all stuff to getting numb, so he couldn't go to sleep. And that was not only my brother; it was like 80 million people, 90 million people. They cannot sleep for like 2 weeks.
Do you still have family there, sir, in Iran?
I have some extended family.
How are they? Are they?
They're
okay?
good. They're I mean, it's been something that you cannot put any word to it. It's been something that the people have been through a lot, but this was different.
It's so important you say this. Our colleague is here, Azita, who's one of our best buddies too, who has family in Iran, and we spend so much time, and we're guilty too, of talking about the policy and the weaponry and the major damage, and we rarely talk about the human equation in all these things in the lives of people, many of whom aren't happy with our government, I should say, and I know you know. In any case, we're glad they're well. Okay, let's fast forward to the United States. I'm going to read you a letter from someone that I'm guessing, an email, many of our listeners know. I am so excited. That's my neighborhood bakery. And then she rattles off about 20 kinds of pastries she loves. I love going there, sitting outside, enjoying the aforementioned pastry and coffee while reading the many books I read, etc. All the staff members are so lovely. They never seem rattled, even when the line is out the door and people are begging them for bread they see on the breaking wrap. They are so community inclusive. I can only, whatever. The rest of us are happy to keep them in business. And their hot chocolate. She goes on and on. That's Callie Crossley.
Yeah.
We didn't ask her for a note. She just loves this place. So
we love her too.
You do love her too?
Yes.
Are you saying that because she was nice to you, or
no,
do you really believe it?
So here's the thing. We moved here it's been like 7 years or 8 years. So it's really hard for us. We don't know a lot of people that they are celebrities. So she just come in outside, sitting there, just get the kuniaman and the hot chocolate. So
she raved about that too,
yes,
by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
She's just loving them. And one of their customer coming to me and just like, do you know her? I said, no, I don't know her. Second customer, third customer. It's just
That's
like,
funny. That's great.
Like everybody knows you.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I don't know. But, and we just talking, but she's very sweet. Yeah, we love her.
And a listener says in capital letters, La Saison has its own parking lot, which is big. Tell us what you brought. Is this sourdough, by the way?
That's a sourdough. Go ahead.
Best sourdough I've ever had. It's my daughter buys it all the time.
So,
why is it so different?
Because we don't put any chemical yeast inside. So this one, it's like water, flour, and salt. So we don't put anything. And the sourdough usually people getting a little bit wider than these. So we just like getting the sourdough when it's getting to the peak. So it's a little bit less sour and.
Go from my counter here in Marjorie's direction. What'd you bring? Run down the whole thing here quickly.
You want to go?
So
here,
this one's pistachio croissant with saffron topping, mascarpone topping.
What's that thing?
This one's pistachio eclair.
Yes. Okay, and right there, that fruit
thing. This is vanilla rose butter cake.
Beautiful.
This one's akbar mashti, which is, again, pistachio
Marjorie's
cheesecake.
eating while you're talking, by the way. Go ahead.
That one is very popular. Yeah, it's feta za'atar scone. Mm-hmm. And the other one is rose butter eclair.
And what's in the box?
Vanilla.
What's in the box that's right in front of you there?
Chocolate chip cookie looks like to me.
Yeah, croissants and scones.
Yep.
Yeah, we have almond croissant, we have the lemon thyme scone, we have the pesto and Gruyere scone.
Oh my God!
Marzipan.
Scouting out what I want to eat next.
Marzipan and orange scone, and we have pain au chocolat, croissant, brown butter chocolate chip cookie, and oat and cherry cookie.
Okay.
How are you?
I want to know what is different about Iranian pastry. How's it different from your regular?
It's super different. It's
How
super
so?
different. So I can tell the way we're selling the pastry, it's by the weight. So you're going to go to the pastry shop and say, I need 1 kilo of this, or 2 kilo of this. And everything that you're getting there, it's super different. So we have kind of like, I think it was a lot of like a French influence. So there's like a lot of French background to everything, but super different. But what we have done like in past 20 years, 25 years, when we started selling the pastry as this. So we were like first like pastry shop selling like American style bakery. By American style, I means cookies, cheesecakes, and cakes and brownies. So that was like our main thing. It was like, it's called Cookie Box. And that's why I become like famous for that.
And I'm amazed really. I mean, we've talked to Joanne Chang from Flour Bakery. Of course, it's a famous bakery in Boston. And she was a pastry chef for a while. But it's amazing to me that you can just kind of decide, I'm going to start baking, and then manage to do this in such a short time. I mean, did you help him?
Well, I have no idea. This was super scary for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was at the front and he was baking in the back. It was just the two of us, and it was like it was very surreal for me. What he's gonna do, what his plan is. But I tried to be focused on my thing at the front. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And so tell us how you guys got together. I mean, was it over the bakery that you met, or was it before that, or what happened?
It's way before. It's an interesting story, actually. It began, I think we first met in 2003.
When we were 22
yeah,
years
in
old.
our early 20s, on a road trip with some friends, group of friends. And then apparently Sohail has seen me before. And he wanted to make a move, but my friends were like...
Wanted to make a move.
I love that.
Yeah, and my friends were super protective and said, like, don't even think about it, because she doesn't want to be chosen. She wants to do the choosing. But on that trip, I choose him.
He's a sketchy-looking
guy.
character. Let's face it.
He had a bad reputation.
No, I didn't know it's going to be live, but I will put my good stuff. So
Yeah,
I didn't know we're going to be on it. I thought you just walking. Yeah, sorry.
So can I?
Wait a minute, before you get up. So when you were doing the baking, and you were in the back baking, and you were in the front, you were already married by then. So you were
Yes.
stuck with the situation one way or the other.
Stuck,
okay, I got it.
Yeah.
How are you treated? I mean, I hate to put a damper on everything, which is what I do for a living. If you have an accent in this country, the guy who runs the country probably isn't really happy about having you here. How do real people treat you? I know they love your business, but starting with you, Sarah, how are you treated?
Well, I have been supported and treated well from day one. Like, as I mentioned, it was very scary for me. I did marketing in the background, like brand strategy and stuff, but I've never faced a customer, especially in a new country with another language. But like, the community was super supportive. And like, my dad passed away. They were all, bringing flowers and jams and books, and then this happened recently. We were outpoured with support. I haven't been have any experience, of having the accent, but maybe sometimes it's hard for me, just to catch up. Otherwise, I feel kind of very comfortable.
Do you feel the same way?
So. I think, to me, when I moved here, so I had to work, and that was the first time I was working for Joanne. She's the greatest. I
Joanne
think.
Chang, she is the greatest.
Yeah, she's the greatest. So I had to work in this company, and they are super diverse, really respectful, very good culture and everything. And I never got like a bad thing, but yes, sometimes when you get into the position, how can I put it in the words? So I don't know, when you just step into the circle some people has, they become racist. You know what I mean? So it was like, I was in the kitchen, I was like, where did you put that, or whatever? And the lady just come to me, she's like, sorry, I cannot understand your accent. And it was in a bad way. It's not like, sorry, no, it was like in front of everybody and shouted at me, and just like, yeah, my accent this is my accent, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I can tell you, like, most of the communication that I have with people was positive. And sometimes I go to the mechanic shop and all stuff, and it was like a Trump flag and like some stuff you think by bias that you're going to get some...
Were you anxious when you saw that?
No.
And how were you treated?
Very well, to be honest.
You don't have any of that? Neither of you have that? You described the anxiety for different reasons that your relative feels back in Tehran. Do you feel any anxiety in a country that is no longer... The people are, I think, but whose leaders are not welcoming to people who weren't born here, particularly people who are not from Norway?
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
Yeah, of course. Like my dad wanted to come back, and he's on green card, but he's gonna get rejected. They're gonna send him home, so he cannot come in. You know, so. But I think this racism thing, it becomes super personal. Some people you don't think they're gonna be like giving you some hard time, but they give you a hard time. They give you like really hard time. And some people you think by the flag or whatever they just like saying, you think they're gonna be, but no, they're not bad. I think you just become. To me, I cannot judge people like right now. I just come to the point like someone's coming in super like, but when it's getting to that point, they're racist. Like they give you a hard of the way I look. You know what I mean? So I had it. I had some bad time, but overall, I think we had a really good run in Cambridge, and we started having the community. So we started being Persian in America. So in the beginning, it was like people telling us, oh, it's America. You don't have to ask people about the occupation. You don't have to ask people about the family. It's so personal. And we just treat like that for 2 weeks. And it's just like, Sarah, let's be us. Like, this is us. And we're going to be us, you know? And people start like right now we have a family there. Like, it's not story. Like, and it's not like a family. We're just saying, no, people coming in, they don't buy anything. We don't want to sell them anything, but they just wanted to come in and just say hi and just like hang out.
That's the voice of Sohair Fati and his wife Sarah Moripour is here. They're the owners of La Saison in Charlestown and Cambridge.
You know, Sarah, you mentioned you've got extended family back in Iran, but your family's mostly here, and you've got a lot of family back. That's one of the things I think is really hard, is that if you wanted to go visit, you might not get back in. I mean, that's right. Sort of tough.
It is. It is tough. It's unpredictable. We have an 8-year-old daughter. We want her to see, back home all the friends and family, but it's always there's a lot of risk to it. You know?
Yeah. There is a lot of risk. I think it's one of the most difficult things. Why'd you come here? Why'd you leave your country? Because I think it's hard to leave your country.
It is. We didn't actually plan it. As I mentioned, my dad got sick, and then we wanted to be with him for 2 months, getting his treatment at Dana-Farber, and then we kind of got stuck because he went through a lot of side effects and ended up in ICU for 1 year.
Oh, gosh.
And then, and things in Iran also got crazy, and we had a little daughter at that time. She was just 2 years old. Yeah. So we decided, let's start fresh.
We didn't even wrap to come here. We still have stuff back there. So it's just like she coming in here.
For 2 months only.
Yeah,
that was the plan.
We thought we were going to stay here for 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
It's been 8 years right now. So
say, hey, why don't we open a bakery while we're here? Why not?
She came in for 6 months, and after 6 months, they said, okay, I'm going to come and help, and we're still here.
So how's the business? We know that not every customer can be Kelly Crossley.
Yeah.
So how's the business?
Business been good. Like, it's always been good, but I think one thing is become harder and harder right now, maybe because of the government. I don't know what's the reason. It's become harder for small business.
Are tariffs affecting you? Do you get a lot of your stuff from overseas?
We do.
Yeah, I mean, we have like a chocolate coming from Belgium and all stuff, so we have to switch and all stuff. And one thing, we had the cup situation coming from China. And the guy email us like everything going to go up by 30%. Wow. And then we say, okay, we're going to stop like buying from you guys. But she just like adjusts everything. But it's become that like a thing that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We had a lot of like phone calls. Oh, maybe we're going to go up 30% in 2 weeks. But I think in general, it's a little bit hard for small businesses because of the gas situation, the water situation, the amount of money we have to pay people. We always have to be fair. We want it to be fair. Like, I don't think $15 per hour, you cannot live in Boston. I don't think you can live. No, you cannot. Like, how you can just like giving people that money. You know what I mean? So we trying to do like be fair, and just like these people working with us, they are family. They become like family. We love them. They love us. And we've been together all of these years. Right. But it become hard a little bit.
Sarah, why the line in the logo? Why the line through La Saison?
The line. That's
I've wondered this
question.
for years, actually. Now I get to ask the source. Why?
So we very kind of high-end handmade chocolate store back in Tehran.
Mm-hmm.
And when we kind of talked about the, everything that what we want, what the name and everything, this was the designer kind of what he came up with. But for us, it makes there's no difference in season. La saison means the season in French.
Yeah.
And no matter what season we are in, you're gonna enjoy all flavors, and also the inclusivity that we try to kind of practice in our business. But we get that question a lot.
Both of you have smiled through a lot of, every time we're discussing the work and the business and the customers, you both start, look at them now. So starting with you, what brings you the most, I know there are tough times and obviously tariffs and all the things that Sohair mentioned a minute ago. What are the things that bring you most joy about running a small business in a time when a small business is not that easy to run?
Right, it's not easy, but the highlight and the most delight of it is the human connection, is the everyday, seeing and laughing and smiling and talking and connecting. And also, when the hard time kind of hits and it's heavy, that human connection is everything. It's really delight. It's very rewarding. I didn't see myself to survive at the front, but that was the only thing that kept me going. And
so you're going to say the same thing, I assume, aren't you?
Yeah, our team for sure,
Yep.
and the customers. These are the humans
Exactly.
and these are really affecting. Every day we wanted to go to work and say, okay, I'm going to see these people. It really, really is different. Yeah.
There you go, Jim. That's what I say every day. Today I'm going to see Jim, and here I come. So
let me end by reading another Cali line. I started. Also, their hot chocolate in the wintertime is delish. I've come close to crying when they've occasionally run out. What a tribute to
and there
an
was something she
operation.
said she didn't want to eat because she was afraid she'd become addicted to it and never be able to stop.
That is
I think
correct.
it was a cheesecake or something like that. It was a cheesecake.
In any case, it's great to meet you. Your food is
Yeah.
great, and you're pretty great. Too.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for
Thank you
coming
very
in.
much.
Thank you very much for
Patronize
bringing
their
us.
business wherever you are.
Absolutely.
People love
One
it.
in Cambridge
Yeah.
and one in Charlestown.
Thank you
Charlestown.
both.
Thank you
Good
so
to see
much.
you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
We have been speaking with the owners of La Saison Bakery, as I said, in Cambridge and Charlestown, Sohair Fati and Sarah Moripour. Thank you again for coming in. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to talk about shame, public shame in business, politics, Coldplay concerts. You may have heard about that one. Everyday life. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR and 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Arun Roth. Coming up on GBH's All Things Considered, workers at Fenway Park could be on strike for this weekend's series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2 market basket leaders are speaking out after their firing by the supermarket's board. And a new study says what we eat is causing obesity, not lack of exercise. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH's All Things Considered.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Subaru of New England, the all-wheel drive 2025 Subaru Crosstrek, is committed to keeping your loved ones safe on adventures this summer. Subaru retailer locations at SubaruofNewEngland.com. And The Trustees, preserving cultural properties from the Namkeg in the Berkshires to Castle Hill on the Crane Estate in Ipswich for the public's use. More about their work at thetrustees.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browder live from the library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. By now, you've probably, this is ridiculous. You've all seen the footage of that CEO on the Jumbotron at the Coldplay concert. We were on vacation when it happened, so bear with us. With the HR manager at his company, they ducked down in shame for their affair, broadcast for the entire stadium and now the world to see. And of course, since the video went viral everywhere, the internet has done what it does best, perpetuate the public shame. That shame CEO as you know, has since resigned, which in 2025 is honestly pretty surprising. So we're opening the lines now for a case study in public shame. And I want to read from a terrific piece in the New York Times a couple of days ago by Helen Schulman, with which I am in total agreement. I had thought that the toxic sludge of shamelessness, that love child of Donald Trump and the internet, had wiped out the old-fashioned notion of humiliation, but I was wrong. And she goes on to say, I hope they, meaning the two of them, they will become some sort of folk heroes in the age of utter shamelessness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So our questions for you are several. Is shame back, thanks to these unfortunate couple, the Coldplay concert? And if it is back, despite the shamelessness of the person who leads this country, is that a good thing? The number is 877-301-8970. Do you think it's a good thing, Marjorie Egan?
Well, I don't think it's a good thing what happened to this couple.
No, I didn't ask you that.
I think it's awful.
But they did what they did.
How do you pronounce that? Schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude, yeah.
Yes, people are like kind of reveling in this couple getting caught.
Well, they have kids and spouses.
That's
kids
horrible. And spouses,
yeah, okay.
Exactly. And all of a sudden they become an international sensation, and the guy's lost his job, and she's probably going to lose her job pretty soon too. But I do think, it's a contrast between shame, the lack of shame in the Trump administration, I think is so startling. People always talk about, our last crooked president was Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon had a lot of shame. That's why he resigned. This guy has none. And I think the thing, the lack of accountability, people still talk about the fact that when we had these big scandals, like, Obama never went after the bankers, they got away with it. People get away with it. And I think there's a sense now that people just get away with stuff. Trump gets away with stuff all the time. And so I think that that's why when people are accountable, it sort of feels good, even though for this poor couple, it doesn't feel good
Okay,
at all.
I'm going to give you a special consideration. You do not have to say how bad you feel for the couple anymore.
Okay.
We both feel bad for the couple.
Okay.
The question on the hour is not, do you feel bad for the couple?
All right.
But they have been shamed. Is that good for our culture? Again, since we all know Donald Trump, Nothing shames this person. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. A week ago, he was for transparency. Mm-hmm. Now he is so much for no transparency in the Epstein thing that he has recessed the House of Representatives until after Labor Day. Does he experience any shame because of that?
No,
he does not. Well, so the question is the return of shame, even only at Gillette Stadium, a good thing for our culture? I would say yes, even though I echo Marjorie's sentiments about the pain that these families are feeling. But do you think it'll last when the people who are the highest profile people in the country feel no shame? The number is 877-301-8970. And by the way, since we weren't here when this whole thing played out, if you want to comment on the thing itself, you can do that too.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go to any concerts with a person not your legitimate girlfriend.
We can go. You probably shouldn't be hanging holding
you don't want to be
hanging.
Yeah. That's right. You don't want to be hanging because we were at the Red Sox. Remember we had that little brief moment on the Jumbotron. It was
right in front of us.
Yeah, not we weren't there, but kind of from the neck down.
They could see our crotches on the. They could. That was all that was on the. We were the friend who was just here, by the way, a few minutes ago.
Yes, he was just here. Yeah, he was.
877-301-8970. I think you're avoiding the topic, which upsets me. Yeah.
No, I do think there's a really frustrating lack of shame that you look at all these things. I hate to keep coming back to Trump, but he is the president, and he is absolutely shameless.
That's what this all is
And
all about.
34 felonies. Sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll.
11 million people at least losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid.
Well, Congress has no shame, clearly, because they did something totally immoral, totally nasty. And you think of the Trumps, they're banned from running charities in New York State because they've been stealing from the charities. It's unbelievable. They get fined $25 million for his Trump University. All the corruption of all these side deals with making all this money in cryptocurrency and all these deals going on in Saudi Arabia, etc. Obviously, none of them have any shame, but the people that are following him, apparently they have no shame either because they're willing to sell their souls for this guy. So we were just talking to these gentlemen from Market Basket.
I was just going to say that. How many CEOs lay off people, don't give a damn about their workers?
Well, listen to what he said. He's lost his job now. He's been fired. But he said he did the right thing. And at the end of the day, certainly at the end of your life, that's what's you're going to look back on. You're not going to look back on whether you made, an extra $50,000 in 1987 or something.
So an anonymous texter says, okay, you got me. I'm ashamed that I listened to BPR. Well, that's progress. Let's go to Mike in Foxborough. We're talking about shame and whether or not it's back, thanks to this couple at the Coldplay concert. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Enjoy your show a lot.
Thank you very much.
I was going to say I didn't think it was back, but it apparently seems to be. And I missed this when it happened because I was traveling, busy for work, and then I started hearing everyone talking about it, and I heard some jokes I didn't know they're talking about, so I caught up later. But I'm thinking, it's their own fault, but I really think the punishment and what's happening, getting dragged through this, and I feel bad for their family, and even he doesn't have a job now to support his family, and I'm not sure what his situation is. Most people disagree with me. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any, having issues and having to deal with it at home, but this whole dragging through the internet and a meme and a joke for the rest of your life, and I think even losing your job might be too much of a
well, Mike,
punishment. I'm not sure.
Can I tell you,
that's just the way I feel.
You're on to something, because one of the things we didn't mention, which you're touching upon, is a lot of people's reaction and obsession with this is not because they're having a deep debate about whether shame is back. Would you not agree, Marjorie and Mike? So many people get pleasure out of this. When you have a miserable life and somebody else's life is made horribly miserable, don't you think a lot of people take pleasure from the comparative misery index? I think that's what's motivating a lot of people. Mike, that was a fine call. Thank you.
But isn't that depressing?
It is horribly depressing.
Yeah. I mean, we're not supposed to keep saying you feel sorry for this girl. But Mike said
Say
the
it
same
again.
thing.
It's okay.
No, Mike said the same thing. I mean, gone are the days where you could, be carrying on at the Coldplay concert. The only people that would see you, maybe the people sitting next to you. Although there was that story of the woman on the plane that videotaped the couple she thought was having an extramarital affair.
They weren't, right?
I don't know. I don't know if they were or they weren't. But that became a big story. So now you're like a worldwide sensation, and you wonder what's going to. Do they recover from this? I don't know.
Do you feel sorry for this guy? I feel sorry for his family. You feel sorry for him like the caller did?
It's not.
I don't think he's suffering financially because he lost his job.
Obviously, he betrayed his wife and he betrayed his vows, and so did she. And they're both in their second marriage. And
they are?
Yeah.
I wonder who the thirds are going to be with.
She just got through her divorce in 2022.
Well, she moves fast.
So I guess they just bought a house up in New Hampshire for $2.2 million.
Not with the CEO.
No, with
the husband.
The guy that's a Cabot. The Cabots, the ones that talk only to God. Those are the wealthy families. The Cabot
she's
families.
A real Cabot, right?
Well, she married one. She married one.
Yeah.
A real Cabot, of course, wouldn't do this, Jim, because they talk only to God. But anyway, I feel sorry for the internationalism of their sin. Let's put it that way.
877-301-8970. Here is Morgan Wallen. Is that how you pronounce this country singer? Poking fun at the Kiss. How do you say his name? Wallen, thank you. Well, whoever he is. In any case, he's poking fun at the Kiss Cam scandal during his concert last Friday in Arizona. Here's what he had to say to his audience.
Somebody in here with their side chick or whatever. I think you're safe here.
Okay, that wasn't as good as I thought. But the spirit was there. Let's go to Victoria in Lynn. Welcome to the show, Victoria. Hi.
Hi. Good to be back. I'm a many-time caller.
We appreciate that.
So I appreciate you. I wanted to say that you really can't, I don't think we can look at this outside of the context of extreme wealth and corporate environment HR violation. Because we've all had pounded into our heads in the past 20 years, you don't canoodle at work. And that there's a power dynamic between somebody who's the CEO and what is it, head of people? Is that what they're calling it?
That's what HR is called.
Now?
Yeah, that's what they call HR, yeah.
So I think I don't think it's just people being miserable and delighting in this. I think it's the lack of accountability of these incredibly wealthy people who are flagrantly out there having an affair and swaying and, smooching or whatever they want smooching. No. But cuddling and canoodling at a Coldplay concert, and people are like, she works for him. And the coworker's there. And this guy's getting away with this. Well, now he's not. And there is some delight in that, I think, because so many people have had consequences of their own in their much smaller work environments, and they're like, I'm trying so hard to behave and have healthy professional boundaries, and look at this guy.
That is an excellent analysis, Victoria. Thank you for the call. You know what also another plus from this horrible situation, beyond potentially bringing back shame, and Victoria just mentioned it, it's brought back the word canoodle.
Canoodle.
Into the
it's
lexicon.
It's a great word.
How many people anybody in the audience used the word canoodle in the last year? Aiden is one. Is that the truth or not? Said not really. Okay. In any case, 877-301-8970. Emil in Marlborough says, I still feel some shame. This is horrible. But the time I snuck into your show at the BPL without a ticket. That was because Marjorie hadn't made it clear that you always need tickets and a reservation.
Okay. Josh in Waltham, thank you for calling.
Hello, Josh.
Hello, Jim and Marjorie. I have so many thoughts on this.
I can tell.
First of all, the first two callers were spot on, and I like Marjorie's word, internationality. Like the scope of this thing, you have to have some empathy for all the people involved, because everyone involved is a human being, even though there's, as Victoria said, the whole power, differential and all that. And I get having righteous indignation toward people in the corporate world who make, oodles and canoodles of dollars. But I will say that shame is such a, thank you.
You're welcome.
I will say that I love the scene in Game of Thrones, that iconic scene where that religious zealot nun lady is saying shame. But it is such a powerful thing. I feel ashamed of my own behavior a lot, and the whole thing about feeling guilty versus shame is, if you feel guilt, you did something wrong. If you feel ashamed, you are wrong or you are bad. And as an educator, early in my career, I had advice given to me to work with a student that basically was embarrassing them or shaming them into making a better choice. And that was from a behavior analyst. And then a social worker came over to me and was like, I'm not going to disagree, but I just want to point out, the emotion behind that is a very powerful emotion. So I would say this is one of my more serious things. But, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
First of all, I want to say you've said what I was trying to say 10 times better than I did. That's one. And number two, especially since you're an educator, what I was trying to say before but never got to, my own fault, is it seems to me when the role model, unfortunately, for behavior in this country is somebody who's a felon, a sexual abuser, and someone who feels no shame, unfortunately, whether we want it or not, it trickles down to kids. And I guess what I'm saying is when something that probably every kid, not to mention every adult, now knows about, namely the thing at Coldplay, and knows about the shame thing, does that help you as an educator create a culture where responsibility and accountability and all that stuff matter? I hope I'm expressing that clearly enough. Does it?
You're doing it adequately enough, Jim. I would say,
thank you.
I teach kindergarten and first grade after school, so they're still young and hopefully somewhat insulated. But it's a big thing. I never want to shame children, and
of course.
I'm always second guessing, my decision making, or I wasn't at my best and that kind of thing. So I think having compassion for ourselves and others, and it's so easy to judge. But in this situation, as much as I want to feel that, the CEO, it's a hard thing for them to deal with.
You're a good one, Josh. Thank you. I have about 80 great texts here.
Yeah,
Can I read
do.
a few? Oh,
absolutely.
Okay, first, anonymous texter. I've heard this one before. They listen to Coldplay. They brought this on themselves. Mark from New Hampshire. I'm ashamed my state has no sidewalks.
You should be, Mark. It's an outrage.
And this is my favorite. Anonymous, does Marjorie feel shame when she drives in the bus lane?
No, I do not.
You don't?
No,
exactly.
I don't.
Maybe now you will. Who
no,
knows?
I won't. No, I'm not in the bus lane. The bike lane, yes, but not the bus lane. Another texter says, I'm ashamed of myself that I continue to delight in Taco. That's what he's calling Trump. Taco's swollen ankles and the MAGA burning their hats over Jeffrey Epstein. I can't help myself, though, so I do feel ashamed. I think, as you said before, it's like there's something satisfying in this climate when someone gets caught and pays a price, because it seems like in the public arena now,
nobody gets caught. They get caught, but they pay no price.
They get caught and they pay no price. I think it's a sense that everybody gets away with everything that's powerful, and even though these people weren't particularly powerful, it looked like they had good jobs, and she was married to one of the Cabots, and the Cabots speak only to God.
I heard that.
And so maybe the Cabots were quite wealthy. So maybe she's
so
a
can
rich
we get back
person
to my trickle-down point that I adequately explained according to Josh? I think he was being charitable. When you have someone who feels, not someone, someone's, the whole hierarchy of the Trump administration, who apparently feel no shame about anything, and they're the people we hear from most in the society, that does, even if it's subliminal, trickle down to younger people and basically, and older, middle-aged people, and basically send the subliminal message that you don't have to feel shame about any behavior.
Yeah.
Don't you think it does?
Yeah, no, I think it does. I mean, Bill Clinton was a scoundrel, as we know, but he got up and gave that apology speech. The first time he got up and gave the apology speech and lied in the apology speech. Right. Then he finally told the truth in the apology speech. I don't know if he felt shame or not. He pretended he did, but that's out the window now. I mean, it seems you can be a pretty sleazy person and be running the country now. It's sort of depressing. I think that's why people feel so depressed about the state of affairs. Leah from Cape Cod, thank you for calling.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
I have
Hello.
Adult children.
Sorry. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Hello.
Fine, thanks.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Good. Okay.
I have adult children that work in the corporate sector, and they have pretty big jobs.
Yeah.
And they were grateful, actually, and pleased that it was exposed at Gillette, because in the corporate world from the beginning, they're told there are certain things you don't do, and you don't mess around with the CEO, etc. And they feel like in the corporate world they're told things, and yet the President of the United States is an exception to every single moral code.
Exactly right.
And yet, as disappointing it is to see the family suffer, no one likes that. It's just inexcusable that we excuse horrific behavior all the time.
So do you think this changes everything, or I'm exaggerating something that doesn't deserve exaggeration?
Do I think it changes everything?
Do you think what happened and the shame,
everything?
the shame out of Foxborough, does that change anything, or is Trump's lack of shame so strong that it has no impact on anything except it's a good story on the internet?
I think, from my perspective and the perspective of my family with all adult grown children, we feel like everything's a double standard in the White House or the GOP, and it's so despicable because the truth is, most of us believe you just don't cheat publicly on your spouse and embarrass your business, your family, your friends. You don't do that to people. But everything else that's despicable is somehow whitewashed when it comes to Trump. And it's exhausting.
Leah, thanks. We appreciate it. Here's AI on the Road makes a good point. I hope we don't all get judged mercilessly by a 1-second snapshot of our lives, no matter how horrible it is. Well,
that's
I hope
that's a great line.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's a great line.
What did I say, A1? Did I? Oh, I said AI.
The idea that you don't want to be judged.
I'm mimicking Linda McMahon. I'm sorry, what?
You don't want to be judged by the worst moment of your life.
Right, and by the way, they should be judged by this, but hopefully at some point the two of them are going to apologize, don't you think? They'll go on Oprah or something. They'll apologize. No, I'm saying, I don't mean that as a joke.
Oprah's not allowed
and let them
anymore.
go on with their lives. They didn't kill anybody.
No, they didn't. They
so
didn't
it's
kill
not.
anybody.
I'm not minimizing what the pain they caused
but
their
I
families.
wonder, I wonder, like somebody like the Senator Bill Cassidy, the guy from Louisiana, who, when RFK Jr. was saying, we didn't need vaccines and saying they didn't work and all this kind of stuff, he told a story about a patient that he had who wasn't vaccinated.
He's a doctor, Cassidy.
He's a physician. That's right. And I believe the young man died of hepatitis, I think, or it may have been something else, but something he could have gotten a vaccine for. And he was so upset that this child hadn't gotten vaccinated, and he died needlessly. He didn't need to. And he went on and on and on, gave a big speech. And then he votes to approve RFK. This is what I wonder. I mean, these people aren't all horrible people. How do you live with yourself? Marco Rubio.
Oh, I can answer that.
Marco
Rubio. How they can live with themselves? Because they feel no shame
I don't know.
for anything
I
they
don't know.
do.
Well, that assumes
because
that
their leader is shameless as well.
But does their whole family feel like that? Look at Marco Rubio. No one's dead over there because
he said USAID cuts have killed no one.
And they had these horrible stories we've seen that the hospital ward they
of
focused
tens
on,
of thousands having
where
died.
children are starving to death
no
and not
shame.
getting medicine.
That's my point.
And
no shame.
Yeah, well, I guess it's no shame. I don't know what it is, but and they're very public people. So usually people get worried about what's going to be in your obituary if you're a famous person. I say that
by the way all the time. I guess you're dead. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But don't you worry about what the first paragraph of your obituary is going to be?
Well, I haven't thought that much about it lately, but
that's all I think about, actually. That's all I think about.
What's going to be the first paragraph of yours?
I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it.
Historic one-term retired undefeated
city
in the Cambridge City Councilor.
Exactly.
Russell and Quincy, what do you think, Russell?
Hey there, Russell.
Hey, guys, love the show.
Thanks.
I will take issue with the premise of the debate.
Okay, please.
Back. And I really think that this whole situation illustrates the complete opposite. I think the only people that probably have a screed of shame are the couple that were caught on camera, if they do. But the rest of the world is having a blast with this. I remember my old Irish granny saying, if you don't have something nice to say about somebody, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
But we're jumping on this bandwagon and having a blast. Now, admittedly, it was very funny the way they reacted to it, so it's hard to blame the populace for having fun. But literally, I think if you felt any shame, you would probably just, stay quiet about it rather than reveling in every meme that comes out. So I think it just shows a complete lack of shame.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
It is an interesting perspective, Russell. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, and like we said before, the spouses and the kids and all that kind of stuff. And this is good. It's going to be the first line of their obituary.
I think I do. And probably the second and third line,
Actually not, because they're not public figures.
What are you talking about?
Well, they're not going to be public. I mean, they're
they are
public
like
50
figures.
years old.
They're public figures.
Well, you presume they got another good 20, 25, 80 years. And by the way, I think the family gets to write the obituaries now. So I don't think the family's going to.
No, I'm not talking about the obituary like the one you send to the funeral home.
That's what I'm saying.
Like if there's an obit written in the newspaper.
But they're not, senators and presidents and stuff like that.
You know what my first paragraph's going to say?
What,
Jim Browdy, who at the playoffs with the Red Sox in 2017 or whatever, got stuck in his seat. And Marjorie Egan got him out by spraying, what's that oil thing? What did you spray?
Cooking oil.
Cooking, it wasn't cooking.
Crisco or one of those
whatever
things.
Whatever it was. Pam,
Pam,
to get him out of
that's
the seat.
right, Pam.
I wouldn't consider that a bad opening in my obituary.
Okay.
I did get out of the seat.
You did get out of the seat.
I had to walk with the seat home, stuck to my ass. Remember that? It was really humiliating. It's really horrible.
Donna from Sportsmouth, what do you
Donna,
think?
yeah.
Hi. I agree that I'm glad they got caught. And I don't know why people would feel bad for them. Do they feel bad that they were cheating on their spouses or that they got caught?
No, they feel bad because they have families, and you don't want people who are innocent to suffer.
Donna, because most people who are cheating on their spouses aren't in the front page of the newspaper. They don't have millions of people commenting on the picture of them trying to hide behind the seats. You know what I mean? That's the difference to me. Is this worldwide notoriety? Usually, your families, you betray your spouse. Your spouse is upset. Your family's upset. People that know you might be upset. But you know what I mean? It's not something that the entire neighborhood or city or state or country or world knows about. That's the difference to me.
Well, the thing that I feel bad about is that it wasn't Donald J. Trump on that jumbotron.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. I think we come back to that. That's the contrast. The idea that people can get away with this, that public people can do these nasty things. I mean, they've just shut down Congress, the House now, because we don't want to talk about Epstein anymore. What are you laughing at?
These are unfunny comments by our coworkers who are any mistake or stupid thing I say makes them as happy as happy can be.
Okay, here's the last line in Jim Browdy's obituary. He was laid to rest beside his mother in the trunk of his Tesla.
No, they said in the frunk. That's
in the front
trunk of
Sorry,
the Tesla.
I misread it. In the frunk of the Tesla. Poor Jim's mother, she's been in the frunk for 20 years
she
now?
Hasn't. She was in the back of the...
She was the back of the Volvo?
No, actually, I don't want to get into it. It's a loving act that I was engaging in because you keep her near kind of thing.
Keep her near.
And you think it's funny.
Okay.
As evidenced by the fact that you're laughing about it.
You lost it a couple of times, as I recall. You wonder what happened to you with the car wash.
Sold the car. They wouldn't take it and had to take it back.
Patrick.
No, we're done.
Oh,
Margie.
we're done.
The clock, the whole show.
Okay, sorry.
Patrick, it's Marjorie's fault. We're really sorry. Call us again sometime.
Patrick,
No, you have to talk to Jared. You know how the show works or not?
Hi, Jared. I do.
Okay, Jared.
So, Marjorie, what's the name of... Is it Harriet... what's her name?
Harriet Heinemann. That's Jim's girlfriend.
She's going to give the first quote in his obituary.
That's right. I loved him dearly, and I let him beat me in bar mitzvah class.
That's so funny. That's really funny.
There'll be no quotes from luminaries, just Harriet.
That's right. Harriet, she's
an ode
quite a
to
girl.
Jim.
That's right.
So you gave us. Did you give us your? Oh, you did give us your reaction to the Coldplay mess.
Yeah, but I think you're taking it in a different direction.
We are. So what's your reaction to the shame issue?
I think it's fine. I mean, if you're going to do that and you're going to take yourself in public in a concert, you could just as well run into your neighbors, your family members. This is ridiculous to think that this isn't allowable.
And is it going to change anything or no? No, right? No, it's not. I mean,
this is who we are as people.
I know. Who we are, we apply it to these people, but not to the people who really matter.
What's on the shoe?
What is on the show there?
On the shoe, we're talking about Jaws at 50, a deeper dive at the Martha's Vineyard Museum. They have all manner of artifacts, props from the movie, photographs from the filming, so we'll talk with the curator for that.
Oh, I bet that's neat.
It is. It sounds like a lot of fun. Joyce Kulhaywick is here. She's going to have her rundown of theater, TV, and films, including the new Superman. She'll weigh in on whether that is flying well or not. And then we have the author of a new book called The Painter's Fire. This is all about the artists, people we don't really know about because they've pretty much been lost to history until now. The artists who had all manner of revolution themselves during the American Revolution, from espionage to what they did in art.
Excellent.
We'll be listening.
Jared, thank you
no
very
bra
much.
talk, unfortunately, today.
No.
It's a little bit of a disappointment,
Not
but thank
today.
you.
Okay.
Take care.
Forever on our podcast.
We're glad you're back, Jared. We missed you.
Okay.
We did.
Where
was he, by the way?
He was on. Can we say where you were, Jared?
Yes, yeah.
Where were you?
Where was I?
Montana.
Yes.
Wasn't it Montana?
Oh, right. He does the
rides
horseback
horses.
riding
He
thing.
goes to a horseback riding place for like 7 days. Your butt must be killing you by now, Jared Bowen.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
bouncing around in the saddles.
He loves that feel. A lot of people like that feel. You know that.
Really?
I'm sorry, they do. And a lot of people like that bounce feel from the
Do
saddle.
you think Jim's ever catch you on a horse? I don't think so. Do you think
I
so?
would pay to see that.
I'm scared of horses, actually.
Scared of horses?
I am. I mean,
Okay.
I am scared of horses. That's it. Goodbye, Jared. See you soon. We'll be listening at 2 o'clock.
You know, keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Thank you very much to people who came down to the Boston Public Library to watch the show, and everybody else who listened from wherever they listened from. Tomorrow we're going to be joined by Suffolk County Sheriff Andrew Cabral, Boston Globe business columnist Shirley Young, GBH CEO, our boss, Susan Goldberg, Brown University's Omar Bartov, an Israeli-American scholar of the Holocaust who is now publicly calling Israel's actions in Gaza a genocide. We want to thank our crew, Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss. Additional support from Nia Harmon, our engineer John LaCroix Parker, and our executive producer Jamie Bologna. Thanks as well to the BPL staff here, Maddie Geyer, Patrick Lally, Juan Jose Cadena, our host of the Newsfeed Cafe, across the street at the Lennox Hotel. Thank you particularly to Peter, who brought me over breakfast this morning. Stay tuned to the Culture Show with Jared Bowen, starting immediately after us on 89.7 GBH. Anything you'd like to add before we leave, Jim?
No, actually, nothing.
Okay.
But I am Jim Browdy.
I am Marjorie Egan.
And I'll be here tomorrow.
I'll be. Me too. Thank you.
We're
again
going to
for
fight over the pastry as soon as
we
the
are.
show's over.
Yeah, I've got my eye on
I
certain
bet you
things
do.
there. Anyway, thanks for tuning
Take
in.
care.
Hope
We'll see
you
you
have a great
tomorrow.
day.
Bye.
Jose Cerebriere and the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra with your afternoon stretch to Dvorak's 8th Symphony.
This summer, WCRB brings you the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Tanglewood. I'm Brian McCreath, inviting you to join me for the BSO at Tanglewood every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday